Okay, so if I press stop.
Well, he says, let's mix to the camera, and then he hears somebody in the background, so he's as professional as ever. I've got my little buttons down here, which don't seem to be doing what I'm expecting them to do, but hopefully you can actually hear us and see us. It says, internet is too slow for quality. Avoid shared connections. So are you actually getting any of this at the moment? Let's have a look in the chat channel. Which is now shrunk in size as well, which is just great. So, God alive, this program can sometimes throw you some curveballs. Right, so mixer, yeah, the preview. Oh, there's the preview. Right. In technical terms, don't ever press stop and start again because it never works quite the same after you do that. But anyway, welcome to CirclemakersTV. I'm Matthew Williams, and hopefully you can let us know in the chat channel if you can actually hear the proceedings going on at the moment. Kind of somebody's pressing. Somebody's got their audio on. Mr. Rob, you got your audio on. You're playing music. Well, there we are. Let's just tell you then that tonight's guest is Rob Buckle, who is now putting his live stream on so he can see a 10-second delayed version of himself gesticulating in a minute. And what he's got to remember to do is to press the volume mute button on his live stream so that we don't get to hear the live stream adverts and crap that we don't like as well. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Let's see if we can actually get him on screen. And let's unmute his audio again. And welcome, Mr. Rob Buckle. So, hello.
Hello. Hi.
You seem to be stretched. I don't know what it is with this camera of yours.
Oh, but you're right. It's not me, is it?
Kind of. Well, I don't know. I don't think you're quite that long face, but I think it's just the camera stretching it. I can't do much with it, to be honest. It won't let me stretch the screen. But there we are. Sure yeah, it'll do. It'll do. If people have got a problem with it, they can always sort of, buy professional video editing software and screw it down in size and then re-upload it. But hey, not tonight. So for anybody who hasn't watched the show before, let's bring me back on screen in the corner. Anyone who hasn't seen the show before, we are on live stream on www.livestream.com/CirclemakersTV. We have a website called CirclemakersTV.org, and we also have a live upload of this stuff onto YouTube. It's not live actually, sorry. After we record it, we upload it later on. There is going to be the possibility of us doing it live on YouTube one day. I'm trying to look into that. So. And then we can dispense with these horrible live stream adverts, which Rob seemed to encounter a second ago as he was trying to get himself on. Pain in the arse. So anyway, right then, Rob, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, probably people know me best for the YouTube videos that I've done. I've done quite a few crop circle videos for over the last few years or so, starting probably in about 2008, something like that. And recently I've done a full-length presentation on crop circles for Truth Juice, which has been on YouTube. So some people might have come across me through that. And probably the reason I'm on this show is because I've recently been converted to the idea of the man-made aspect of crop circles. So yeah, it's been a long journey, and my views have changed quite a bit over the years. But yes, it's certainly definitely moved in that direction, as you'll find out through tonight.
Ah, very good. Well, yes, don't shoot it all out at once. We'll obviously have to keep them, waiting for something a bit later on. But yes, you've come a long way by the sounds of it. Would it be fair to say that you were sort of a very revered person when you were producing videos that just had crop circles in them, and now that you're kind of talking a little bit about the man-made aspect, not got quite so many friends out there?
Well, it does get a very different reaction, definitely. Yeah, so the videos I started doing were just basically visually entertaining videos, and with audio on them, and they got quite a good response from the circle fanatics that just wanted to see good circles and discuss them online. Um, and I did a video in about 2010, I think it was, which was a basic video that just looked at the crop circles of 2010 with a nice musical track on it. And it got an awful lot of response and got up to around about 200,000 hits online. And so there's a lot of interest was generated like that. So the following year, I started to get more into the man-made aspect of it, a lot of it through watching your program. And I started to incorporate some of those things at the end of the video on the 2011. And that's created an awful lot of different reaction from people, yes. Some people like it, some people hate it, but it certainly seems to get a reaction from people. And it has attracted a lot of interest from circle makers and researchers, all kinds of people really, and so it's opened up a whole new area for me. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's changed quite a bit over time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, 200,000 hits. Are you lucky bastard? You fucking, how dare you? Sorry, I've started the swearing now, haven't I? Are your kids actually watching this at the moment, or are they intending to?
I don't think they are now. I think my
Okay,
wife
well,
is,
fuck
but
them then. Yes. This is
to be
adults.
fair,
This is an adult channel. Yes.
well, they're pretty much adults now anyway, so I think they swear more than me. So
Oh well, if they're adults, I'm not going to swear anymore. Then there's no point, is there? If you can't offend children,
yeah.
goodness. Of course, we tell people not to watch and then hope they do. So, yeah. Um, so, can you tell us a little bit about your sort of background prior to involvement in all these crop circly weird things then? Whereabouts do you live in the
Okay.
country? And, can you tell us your sort of rough age, if you don't mind talking about such things?
A rough age? When I'm late 40s, is that rough enough?
No, no, I meant the type of stuff you eat when Special K, like breakfast
Oh,
cereals.
roughage.
Rough age, yes. So, yeah. So you're in your sort of
Well,
like 40s then, right? Okay. And
yeah.
whereabouts are you in the country?
I'm in, well, just south of Birmingham, in a place called Solihull,
Solihull, right?
in the
Yeah.
West Midlands.
Yeah, I've driven through there, very
Yeah.
quickly, so that I didn't get any bottles thrown at my car. But yeah. No, they cleaned it up now. They.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
pretty much
when
like
I
where I come
started,
from, to be honest. That's where I come from in South Wales. Is like, probably a lot worse than Solihull. No, I have been there though.
okay, well, I started looking at, well, I've been into crop circles for quite a number of years now, probably since about the late 90s, sort of around about from 97 onwards. I started getting into this area of research sort of from about 97 onwards, which was following a UFO sighting I had in this local area, and that sort of set me off on this trail of discovery, really. And crop circles soon followed on the heels of, looking into UFOs and all that kind of thing. But it's led me down the path of, looking into ancient history and conspiracies through to spirituality, all kinds of things. So I've got a broad sort of background of and knowledge in all those kind of areas. But my working life hasn't been anything to do with that, really. I've been teaching for a lot of the time with adults in adult education and some colleges. And I'm also a therapist. I do reflexology and Reiki. So quite a few different things that I do.
Oh, right, okay. So yes, what on earth got you into crop circles then? How did you start on this strange road of discovery?
Well, I think once you start looking into the UFO phenomenon, as I did, it was inevitable that crop circles would come up. It seemed to be indelibly linked to the subject at the time. And
So this was about how long ago was this? Sorry,
this was probably late 90s.
late 90s, right?
But it was always there in the background. I mean, I remember being, sort of interested in crop circles and things like that going on all through the 80s, but never really sort of delved into it deeply. But it was always there in the background as something of interest. And I actually thought that it had died away after the Doug and Dave thing, which was, I think, 91.
Right.
And I didn't hear much about crop circles for some years after that. And it was sort of well into the late 90s that it started to reappear in my life. And I think it was the 2001 circle, the Milk Hill Galaxy, that really sort of sparked my interest back into it again. So that was just a phenomenal circle. And it sort of made me wake up again to what was going on. And I thought, I thought this subject had died a death, but obviously it hadn't. And this was took it to a whole new level. So I started looking at it in that respect. And at the time, I was pretty much sold on the idea of the real phenomenon, and was very open-minded in terms of its linkage to UFOs and aliens, that kind of thing at the time, because I was heavily into that subject at that time. So it wasn't until much later that I started to review all that. So I had my first visit to a crop circle wasn't until about 2003. Then I think you've got some pictures of those there as well. Which do you want me to go into that now?
Well, we can call them up at any time. Yes, if you want to sort of start off. Rob's actually provided us with some materials, which he's given us a PowerPoint presentation. So if we bring those up on screen, and I prepare the alignment of said thing that shows what's on screen. This is the first picture we've got is of a sort of a mutley called Tizzy. And what's all that about then?
Okay. Oh, well, there she is. That's Tizzy. That's my dog. And I've put the crop circle researcher, largely because she reminds me a lot of the characteristics of a crop circle researcher. This is just bringing you more up to date now with my experiences of the circle world. I call her that because of some of the experiences I've had particularly over the last few months or so, since I've been a little bit more active in the side of the circle makers, if you know what I mean. So she, on the face of it, as you can see there, quite a cute little dog, harmless looking, and that's how she comes across most of the time. But if you flick to the second slide there.
I shall do. In 2 seconds, I've lost the screen a second. Let me just bring it back up. This is brand new software, by the way, which I'm getting used to it. So let video call back up, center of screen. Then I have to do this. Oh, it doesn't. It just stretches. It's just weird. Hang on. Point right. Second slide. Here we are. We're dead professional. Screen. There we go. And we have another photo of said dog. Now sort of looking like there's a bit of anger going on there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean that's the other side to it, basically. So she can turn a bit nasty, and Tizzy's a second-hand dog. We got her from another family a few years ago, and she had a few sort of anger issues at the time. And the reason I associate her with the crop circle research is because they do have that sort of double edge to them, it would appear. And but I don't think that's necessarily something to uh, hold against them in too bad a way, because I found that with Tizzy, what it actually is with her anger, it's an insecurity. And this is what I've discovered a lot with crop circle researchers, is that there is a deep insecurity with them. And this is why they tend to react the way they do sometimes, because I have experienced a little bit of that recently. I don't, as I say, I don't hold any grudges against them. In fact, it's led me to more or less feel a little bit of sorry for them, feel a bit sorry for them, because I think it's an insecurity thing. I think they are feeling threatened and insecure about the way that this crop circle phenomenon is going, the way that the truth is now starting to come out it. And it's an understandable reaction, but I think ultimately it's something that they have to deal with. You know, the truth is going to come out, and I'm pretty sure that I'm on the right lines in terms of the way I'm following the truth here. So it's, it's, and I intend to continue in this way as well.
Right. Okay. So shall we move on to the next slide?
Yeah, I can't remember what order they're all in, but
right, we got something that looks like the Milk Hill formation. Let's bring that up.
This is where I was talking about Milk Hill. This is the one that really sort of shook me up in terms of the interest in the crop circle phenomenon again. You can see that. I mean, that I think hasn't been surpassed as a crop circle. It's just phenomenal in terms of its size, its scale. You know, the beauty and artistry of it. It's just amazing.
But do you still think that it's genuine, or do you think that that's man-made?
I'm still open-minded on a thing. I mean, this is one thing that I know a lot of circle makers and people from that side of the fence will say that they're all man-made. There are others that will say that there's still a percentage that are not explained, and people like Colin Andrews falls into that category that will say that 20% are unexplained.
I thought you were going to say he fell into the category of being unexplained then, Colin Andrews. Okay, right.
Okay. Yeah, well, he says that.
Sorry, I'm throwing you off there then. Carry on. Sorry.
I would go certainly further than that. I would say at least 95% are definitely man-made. But there's still a margin of unexplained, I would say. And this is probably one of those for me. I mean, you might know different on this. I don't know, but a wry smile there. But that's one of those to me. I've not yet heard an explanation of that, who did it and how they did it and so on. So it's one of those that I still leave an open mind. I don't for a minute think that it's made by aliens. I mean, I don't come from that angle at all. But I think there's other things that we could perhaps look at that are a possibility within that. So I do have to keep an open mind on that. I mean, the thing that makes me skeptical of the man-made aspect on that one is the pure scale of it. I mean, I know that if that was made by people, they would have to be very, very well organised, and it must be quite a large team. And that one, there was just no room for error. They could not possibly make a mistake and it work. You know, I think, and it is, as far as I can tell, it's pretty perfect.
No,
so
no, it's not. It's bloody awful.
Not perfect. Sure
no, it's got loads and loads. It's actually a wonderful circle, right? I mean, let's face it, it's a brilliant circle, but you've only got to line it up geometrically and see where things should be and where they actually end up being. You know, and you can see that the circles are not all the same size, and they're not in the same positions on different arms. You know, it's all a bit random. But do you know what? That's the amazing thing, is the eye sees what it wants to see. And that's not saying that your eye isn't seeing it correctly. I think most people's eyes, including my own, when you initially look at that design, it looks like it must be perfect because you don't have a frame of reference. So,
Yes.
your eye and your brain corrects it, pattern matches, and sees what it wants to see. There's too much going on. Probably if it was three circles in a straight line, you'd tell if one was too big, one was too small, and they weren't in a straight line. But this is all curves and lots and lots and lots of detail, and the brain just sort of goes, "I've had enough. I've had enough." And it looks perfect, and it
Mm.
isn't. If you actually sit down and have a good look, it isn't. And I was going to actually do something in a future
Yeah.
presentation about this to sort of show what people think
Yeah.
about that formation.
Interesting.
But
Yeah, that
yes,
was
carry on. Sorry, I'm breaking in again.
so, and I've got a pretty open mind on that. And if someone told me it was man-made, and I would be prepared to accept that. Um, but it is one of those that keeps coming up, and people keep referring to that one as that's the one that needs explaining.
Hmm.
Um,
Including
and
Charles
when
Mallet
I
says
put,
that as well. Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, there's another aspect that is a possibility. If you go on to the next slide there, Matt,
Yes.
I think there's a couple coming up that might shed some light on where I'm coming from on this.
There we go. Now this is a five-sided. It's a pentagram with a pentagram with pentagrams of pentagrams inside it. So
Oh, sorry, that's a bit out of sequence. But
ah,
this
okay.
is this is the first. So I can come back to that aspect of it. But this was a circle I visited in 2003, which appeared near Avebury. And again, this is after seeing that Mill Kill formation 2001. That inspired me to try and look into it a little bit more. And this was the first one I actually got to see, and this was 2003. And this one really has had a big impact on me. It's a fantastic looking formation for a start, in a great location, right alongside Avebury. And I went along on a tour with this. It was a coach tour with the Glastonbury Symposium at the time, and they took us to this one here. And it was interesting because they said to us when we arrived at this, you've got an hour and a half to have a look around this crop circle, and we thought, why do we need an hour and a half to have a look around the crop circle? It seemed an awful long time. But we thought, yeah, good, we'll go in there and have a look, and maybe have a look, wander around Avebury after that. So we went in there and really enjoyed being in there. The next slide actually is a shot of inside the formation as well.
Okay. This
But
has got you standing, holding a picture of it, and sitting
that's it.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's in 2003.
Sure.
What was interesting is that everybody very soon got very chilled out in that formation. Great atmosphere in there. And within no time, we were being called out of that circle by the guy telling us to get back on the coach. And we were sort of saying, well, you said an hour and a half, you know.
Hmm.
And he said, yeah, that's an hour and a half. And everybody was looking at each other saying, that wasn't an hour and a half. It seemed certainly no more than half of that amount of time. And this experience seemed to be shared by most people on the coaching team, that the time just absolutely flew, and not just like a little bit, quite significantly. And
Hmm.
I'd subsequently heard the same story about the same formation from a number of other people. And in fact, it was interesting. When I recently met a circle maker, we were talking about the first formations that we'd seen and so on. And coincidentally, or synchronistically, he said that the first formation that he visited was that very same one. And he had had the same experience on a different date. So that was, again, something that had a big impact on me in terms of crop circles, what makes that kind of thing happen. Um, and as a believer at that point, that just adds juice to the whole idea that there's something otherworldly going on with this. And
Hmm.
and certainly that was the belief of a lot of people at the time that I was, mixing with. And it was, and I think genuinely at that time, the researchers were of that mind as well. And there was a lot of that kind of thing going on. And again, that formation, it looks as if it couldn't have been made by people. And, I now believe that it was, but...
What made you think that it was then, if I break in again slightly?
I think it wasn't.
It wasn't, yes, but you say you think it may be now.
I think so now. I
Yeah.
just believe that it's that kind of thing is possible now.
Yes, that level of complexity and size.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely at the time, I was perplexed as to the size of that and the level of expertise required on that. So, but again, I think when you are a believer, you are prepared to believe that. You're prepared to just accept that people can't do that. And I can see now, having come down the road a long way, that it's you are a little bit blinded to those things sometimes. And especially when you have an experience in a circle like that, which seems to be a little bit paranormal or otherworldly, it makes you believe even more. And then if you flick to the next slide.
Okay, we shall try that. Not that one, not that
one,
but this one. Now that's 2004, and it's a sort of it's a hexagram of sort of.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, it's near Avebury. It's got Avebury in the background.
That's exactly the same location as the pentagram one.
Right.
Again, another beautiful formation. Again, you see alongside Avebury there. And that was the following year. And I visited that one, not with a tour, but I came to this one with my family and had a fantastic time there. We visited a few formations on that day, but this one in particular had a strong impact. And again, it just sort of reinforced what I'd experienced the year before that with the pentagram one. We had the circle largely to ourselves, which was great. Kids were extremely energized, running all over the circle, having a great time. They loved it there. And I found a little spot to sort of lie down and meditate. And I kept getting a lot of tingling on my face in this one.
Right.
Very, very strange, like cobwebs on your face. And I kept wiping it like that. And that went on for some time, and I was convinced somebody was sneaking up behind me and doing something on my face, but it wasn't like that. I just kept wiping it, and nothing there. And just strangely, my kids were videoing this at the time, and my daughter sneaked up on me just after this moment, and she actually got some crop and dangled it on my face when I was lying with my eyes closed. It wasn't that the first time, and it was actually filmed me doing this and wiping my face. But it was just this strange idea that there was something there tingling my face. And I've heard a lot of people since have had similar experiences and relate it to contact with spirit world. Whether that's what it was or not, I don't know, but it was a very strange experience. Again, that sort of confirmed to me that there's something strange going on with these crop circles and something otherworldly going on. And it was at that point I started to think, well, it must be somehow there's some kind of portal here for a spirit entity to enter into that. And I was somehow feeling a physical contact there. So, as I say, I kept an open mind on all that. I wasn't sold on the idea that it was just aliens. And I suppose I moved away from just thinking along those lines and started to open up onto all different other areas. But again, the man-made element was well down the list for me in terms of possibilities. Again, I think it was more that case of wanting to believe in something else rather than anything else. I didn't want to believe that was possible for humans to make. I didn't want to believe that those kind of things could happen in a man-made formation.
Yeah. So we're looking at it now, and it's obviously got Avebury in the background. And you know, do you think there's any significance why people are sort of sticking things in these places and in the same place? You say it's almost exactly the same place.
Yeah.
What's the significance to you
Well,
for that?
I think that area generally is a very powerful area energetically. I mean, I, I visited Avebury on a number of occasions uh, before, not necessarily to see crop circles, but we'd often go there as a family and take the kids there, and they were always extremely energized going there. You would think most kids, sort of under 10, wouldn't want to go to somewhere like that. But we would say to them, do you fancy going down to Avebury? And it was, yeah, they loved it. And they always enjoyed going there and seemed to get a very positive vibe there. And there was quite often a number of circles would appear in that area. And it was never a surprise to me that they were there. Because I think it just was a powerful, energetically powerful area. And I think, well, historically, there's always been circles in that area. And I think it owes much to the history of the area that there's a lot of ancient sites there. And I don't think it's coincidence that they're there. I think there's a strong connection there to ley lines and the energy there. You can almost touch the energy there. It's so strong sometimes.
Do you think there's anything to do with the actual location? As you said, it was almost on top of an old crop circle that
Yeah.
that had been there from the year previous, the pentagrams.
Oh,
Anything in
yeah,
to
yeah.
do with it being in exactly the same spot? Because I mean, that's a big field. I mean, why
Hmm.
does it seem that people are drawn to the same place to do the same circle?
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
ideas
It
or?
was just a little bit further down the field, but
Oh, it was a little bit further down, was it? Okay,
it wasn't overlapping where the other one was. But
right. Okay.
it was very close, very close. But this does happen quite a bit, doesn't it? That circle makers tend to be drawn to the same locations.
That's what I was
Uh,
wondering if that's what you were saying. I was trying to get out because I hadn't
yeah,
heard about that one, but I was trying to sort of see whether it was
it
one
could
of those
be
ones that
that
was actually stuck
the
on exactly the same spot. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be that is something that's energetically powerful area. It may be directly over the lake, but yeah, I've seen others in that area too, and it does seem to be a popular spot, definitely.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I pulled up another picture then, but we've got one of the alien face, the crabwood alien. Did you want to tell us
Okay,
about this one?
yeah, I'll just run through them if you like. Yeah.
Okay, crabwood alien face and
Okay,
the
so
Arecibo telescope, I
this
believe.
is just going back to the idea of being open-minded about the origins of some circles, and there's some circles, I say, that are still, to me, unexplained fully. Okay, and I'm sure there's circle makers out there that will be able to explain them as being man-made, but I've got to satisfy myself um, as to how they came about, and I've still got an open mind. Now, in my talk, what I refer to these as probably the best evidence for alien-made circles. Personally, I don't believe that's how they came about, but I would say that they are probably some of the best indicators that there was an alien presence there. And
Right.
certainly at the time, that was confirmation for me. That's what it was. And I think that's still the same for a lot of people now. And I still get these ones coming up, people constantly referring to these ones as the major proof of an alien involvement in the subject. Um, I think that those as circles man-made circles, I would say those are some of the best ones that I've seen, and probably some of the hardest ones to create. Largely because they're quite literal depictions, and I think it may be you that said this, Matthew, at one point, that doing literal depictions is actually harder than doing abstract
Yes.
formations, because you have to get it absolutely right, otherwise uh, it just doesn't look right. Um, and these ones are beautifully done depictions of a literal subject. And that's what leads me to believe that, well, not necessarily believe, to think there is possibly another explanation behind them. And I obviously, I'm open to being corrected on that. But one of the lines of thought that I like to explore on that is that they are possibly through the military technology. And there's another shot, I think, immediately after the next one, Matt, that shows
yes.
beam.
Yes, military technology, microwave beam technology, or non-deflected beams of highly charged particles creating ionization, it says.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be a representation of a real UFO experience, is it?
Well, actually, no, that's actually a real photograph.
That's a real photograph.
Of
right.
A video footage that was shot of a beam of light that was just seen moving around the fields in Wiltshire. This was actually not in connection with the crop circle, I have to say. It was shot just before the start of, I think it was the 2009 or 2010 season. And it was seen moving around the crop.
Daytime, nighttime?
It was at night.
Oh, right, okay.
For a number of minutes. And it's never been satisfactorily explained what it was and what it was doing. But I've had contact from a few people that have said that they believe that crop circles are made by the military. Okay, well, obviously they're not all made by the military. But there was one particular person that I spoke to who was absolutely convinced that the military has the technology. He was claiming he worked for the military at some point and knew of this technology, knew that it could work. He was saying that that's how they can create precise pictures like the ones we've just seen. And he was talking about the fact that they may have used these for some kind of social engineering projects. And that's why I am open-minded to the fact that there could be a few circles like the ones we've looked at where that technology could have been employed. Perhaps to give the impression that it is all an alien-made thing. Why they would be doing that, I'm not entirely sure, but it's certainly a possibility that there's a lot of people that might want you to believe in this, the idea that the crop circles are an alien-made thing, and leave it like that. And he was saying that this technology is expensive to use, and they would not use it more than 2 or 3 times a year. Which sort of fits in with that, because I was saying, well, there's definitely proof that many of them are man-made, and certainly a lot of them I know are man-made. So I would certainly rule out the possibility that the vast majority are done like that. But I'm open to the possibility that a few could have been done like that. The alien face and the alien message and the human stroke alien face are possible candidates for that, I would say. So
interesting. I know that the military have got very powerful laser weaponry, but a lot of it is it's not very portable, and certainly some of it can be slung inside a Boeing 747, and they can fly with these lasers and blow missiles out of the sky and things like that. But the pulse time is very, very short on what it actually outputs, and I would imagine that it would burn more than be able to push. I don't think there's any type of laser weaponry known to man at the moment that actually pushes things over rather than heating. So the heat would be very uncontrollable, to sort of stop it from burning things. And I've never actually heard myself any compelling arguments about military making crop circles, and I do hear quite a lot. I can't speak for specific formations. I might be, you know, some of the ones you've shown so far might be formations that I may know are man-made. But I would say to you as a general outline that you know, it's my experience that all of them, you know, the complicated ones are man-made. So, you know, that may
Must-
include some of the
yeah,
ones you've actually seen so far. I can only speak for ones I've made myself because it
sure.
would upset the
Yeah,
circle
okay.
making teams otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, all of this, I mean, I think, you know, it's a learning curve for me, and you know, I'm open-minded on that, and
mm,
I'm sure there's people that will say, yeah, they are man-made, and you know, I wouldn't dispute them, but you know, I've got to satisfy myself to a lot of those things, and those are probably the few crop circles left that I've got a remaining doubt about. You know, whether they were made by a team of guys with boards and things like that.
right. Okay. Well, I suppose because
Mm.
we're sort of 40 minutes into the show, we should kind of tell people who might be watching live if they want to take part. Look, I've got snuff now. See, I've been slyly doing snuff in between the camera not being on me. But then I put the camera back on and I've got bloody stuff all over my lip. Great. We should tell people that if they want to take part in the chat channel, there is a chat channel and you can scroll down a little bit and you can even break that chat channel out into a separate window so you can watch the video and you can have a chat at the same time. If you want to give yourself a name and come in there, then that would be great to see you. We've got a few users. It's gone down. Oh, it's gone back up again now. It's back up to 14 users. It was down to 10. And so far we've got Ava Bastard, that's AVA Bastard. We've got Fixter, Nasher, Happy Stomper, High Dudgeon, Mad Hatter, Monad, Bzuki, which is spelled with a P, Bzuki, Wraithy, Robert VDB, which I think is short for Robert van der Broek. And we all love Robert van der Broek. We're going to come and do a show on him, I would imagine, probably in this season of Circle Makers TV. We've got Roger W, which I would imagine is Roger Wibbly, Sonia B, Tablet, and Yogi. So there's 15 users in there now. So there's a Keithing it real. Instead of keeping it real, Keithing it real. So we'll come to some of the questions from people and points they've been making in a bit. But right, over to you, sir. Have you? I was going to say about the photo you showed. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
just put it back up on the screen again. Let's bring this photo back up. And I mean, I was just thinking, if this is taken at night, isn't there a possibility that we could just be looking at a beam of light from a helicopter or something like that, shining down at the ground like a searchlight would from a helicopter? Is that a possibility?
I suppose that's a possibility. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. You can get the video of that on YouTube. It lasts about, I don't know, about 15 minutes or something like that, with this beam moving across the land. It doesn't seem to break at all. It just seems to move around.
Right. Okay.
It's quite an unusual kind of thing.
Could
So it's
what I was going to say is it easy to spot if we would give people the YouTube information of how they could find it? I mean, would you be able to describe some way of actually spotting this? I mean, I could call it up
uh,
actually on YouTube if you can tell me
I
where to
don't have
look.
reference for it, I'm afraid, but I could maybe try and look it up at a later date, maybe. But,
Oh, there we are. You just type in, you just try this,
yeah,
folks. Beam of light, Wiltshire, and then you get strange beam of light, Wiltshire. So it's
something
2
like that.
minutes 46. Let's have a quick look at what's going on here then. Do you mind if I indulge? Oh, there we go. What's going on? It's a bit hard. It's a bit scratchy, this footage. And what we're seeing now, it's a bit like alien autopsy territory.
I think
Oh,
that's the one.
there's somebody walking around. We're seeing somebody in a hoodie, and they're sort of filming. Looks like Alton Barnes. Oh, I can see this beam of light now. I can see it, and it's way up above this person. And I wish they'd darken it down a bit because it's impossible to see what's going on at the moment. Now, I mean, you know, the other thing with beams of light like this is, I mean, I've got a 1.5 million candle watt spotlight that'll hit the clouds, and it can be seen for 10 miles.
Mm.
You can see this thing quite a way away, and I just wonder whether or not maybe somebody is shining a torch, um, a big beamed spotlight up onto the cloud. That seems
Okay.
to be hitting the cloud there, and it seems to be coming from one position underneath. So I'll have to have a good look at this, but it looks to
Mm.
me like as if it's coming from the ground from one position and it's shining up at the clouds, but the position on the ground remains the same.
Okay. So
So
you
I would,
think maybe going up rather than down. Mm.
yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's lighting the upper part of the cloud now, which may mean that you're dealing with clouds on different levels here, and you're seeing it hitting one level of cloud and there's another cloud in front of it, perhaps that's obscuring it slightly.
Mm.
Um, it's interesting. Don't know
Yeah.
what to make of it really. There's no audio with it, which is a shame
I
because
mean, this one had absolutely nothing to do with a crop circle, but it
hmm,
was just in the same area as they tend to appear, and just before the season started, I think in around about the April time. So
right.
it's just an unusual thing. It's just interesting that it was captured on camera that
Yeah,
time.
I think it could possibly be somebody playing with a spotlight, a theatre spotlight, or an outdoor party light, disco light. That you get things that do this sort of stuff. And it could possibly also be a torch or spotlight, sort of portable. But the position doesn't seem to change. And we're just about to come to the end of this piece of footage now, which is about 2:46. So it may not be the best
I think it's not
example.
moving around a bit.
Yeah, and it may be somebody, rabbiting, I mean, with a sort of big beam on the top of the car, possibly, and
Uh-huh.
shining around the fields. I've seen that a few times. I'm offering possibilities. We're not saying that is what it is, and I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trying to throw water on it, but it does appear to be coming from the ground up to the
yeah.
clouds, rather than
Mm-hmm.
from the clouds down to the ground.
Okay.
When it's hitting the clouds upwards, then it breaks out because the clouds are illuminating, so it shines out sideways, which is
Mm.
possibly why it looks like it may be a sort of saucer shape, because as the light hits the cloud,
Yeah,
it becomes like a T shape. It fans out as it hits the cloud and dissipates to its sides.
yeah.
So, but very very interesting. Thanks for bringing that forward for us to
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
So okay, um, over to you, sir.
You talking to me? Sorry.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely.
Right. Where are we
Calling
now?
calling Rob Buckle. Would
Right.
you like me to bring another slide up? Shall we go to the next slide? Let's have a look at what we've got. So that was going backwards to have a look at that one, and then we go forwards, and we've got real or man-made, which has something that looks like an insect or a scorpion or something like that,
Oh yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Would you like to tell us what we're looking at here then?
All right. Well, this is
And there's
this is
another
a couple
circle
of
by the side. There's another circle with some
yeah,
squiggles
yeah,
in it, with some
yeah.
people standing in
Okay.
it.
This is a couple of crop circles that, to me, just threw the debate open a bit and really sort of narrowed the focus right down to me. And I used these two images in my talk to illustrate, firstly, the man-made aspect, which suddenly became very clear to me there. And then there was also the other one, which had still a little bit of an unknown element, which I think now you can probably shed a bit of light on, which we'll go into in a minute. But the first one was this kind of, I don't know what you describe it as, kind of scorpion thing that appeared in Eastfield, I think it was. It was in 2010.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. I'm agreeing with
yeah,
you there. I'm not stating that that's when it was, but yes, I'm agreeing
yeah,
with you.
it was
Okay.
a huge formation. And this one caused a lot of controversy at the time because the people making it were discovered making it by a researcher. And that caused a lot of controversy at the time. But it was generally then accepted that this was a man-made crop circle. So what it illustrated was the fact that people can make huge formations and they can make very good formations like this one.
Hmm.
Um, So it illustrated what can be done. And that to me sort of opened it up quite a bit. It's not necessarily one of my favourite crop circles, that one, but it certainly shows what's humanly possible. And it was interesting as well. If you look at the next slide, Matt.
Okay, now we've got two pictures in this one slide that we've just looked
Yeah,
at. So
I'll come back.
this other one, which is just a circle with some people standing in
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and it looks like the whole
Okay,
lot is pressed down. Is that? Should we come back to that, or
we'll come back to that one.
we'll come back to
Yeah,
that then? Okay. So let's go on to the next slide. So then it's a zoom in basically of the same one
yeah.
that you were talking about
Okay. Yeah.
previously.
So what was interesting about this one, the larger one? When you looked at the detail, you could see quite clearly that there is concentric rings within each circle.
Let's
And
zoom
this
in.
is,
Yeah.
again, thanks to your research and programs, Matthew, where you've illustrated that this is a clear sign of man-made crop circle, the combing effect. Okay,
Yeah.
and so you can see that very clearly on that one. So there you had a perfect example of a crop circle that is known to be man-made, and you can see all the hallmarks of a man-made crop circle with the combing features. So you had a good reference point there. So for me, that was quite a significant circle in sort of being able to discern the difference.
Sure.
Now the other one, I don't know if we can flick back to that
Yes,
one.
we'll flick back to the other one, which is I could be wrong, but am I talk? Is that null down? This one, this
I
small one.
think, yeah, it was the year before last.
Yes.
So this was, yes, it was somewhere in that area, I think,
Yeah.
near the airfield. And this was a small circle that didn't get an awful lot of attention to start with. But this one was interesting because it didn't have those characteristics of man-made properties on them. It didn't have those concentric rings. It didn't have any clear signs that it was man-made. And then came out this story that it appeared within about a 30-minute window
Hmm.
in daylight hours, which added to the mystery of that. So at this time, I was still very, very much open-minded to the fact that this could still be part of the original phenomenon, which is very similar to the very early circles that we had in the 80s and
Hmm.
maybe early
Okay.
90s.
Hmm.
So I was still very much of that mind where, yeah, I'm still open to the real phenomenon here. I've now heard from a number of people that that was definitely man-made.
Hmm.
I don't agree for that, but I would accept that that is the case. It's certainly not impossible for a person to have made that. The only um, distinctive feature of that makes it stand out for me is that lay in it. You can't see it quite clearly on there, but it had a much smoother lay to it. So that was, it still left the debate open for me. But I think you had you gave me a background on that recently, didn't you? When you said that the pilot is someone that you've had dealings with in the past. And
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the stories coming from this particular pilot because I think there's just a real element of trying to get people to come to his airfield, and
right,
the more that he helps generate these stories, the 30-minute stuff, then it's to just try and attract attention. And
yeah,
he's I think he said that this may have happened to him. I could be talking out of my arse here, but I think it's happened to him more than once. One pilot, and he's got a bit of a reputation for himself in the flying fraternity, let alone the fact that he makes most of his money from flying people over crop circles, which he ain't exactly supposed to do. But considering this is his major income, I mean, during the summer months, he makes all his money from flying people over crop circles. Then
mm,
to create a few stories that add to that and get people more excited and would possibly come and spend money in his little cafe that he's got there now at the airfield and fly with him. I don't think he's beyond actually sort of stretching it out a little
Okay.
bit. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Again,
will.
that's the kind of thing that you don't hear
Mm,
from any other sources. So that's, to me, it's invaluable information.
yeah.
Um, so it does throw into debate a lot of these kind of stories about daytime formations and things like that. So can you actually trust the sources?
Mm,
And that leads me on really to the, I think if you go 2 slides on now, there's the very um, famous formation at Stonehenge.
okay. Let's have a look forward in the slides. So this is a Julius set,
That's it.
and it's a one curling round spiral with many little fractal type arms, which is similar in many respects to
Yeah.
the 409 circle
Yes. The
galaxy
galaxy.
on Milk Hill
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
2001.
So yeah, it looks similar. It maybe could have been done by the same people. I don't know that, but this one got an awful lot of publicity at the time,
Mm,
and this is the one which the whole crop circle debate of whether it's real or not seems to hinge on for a lot of people, because this one has that story of it appearing in daylight hours in a very short window of time, about 45 minutes.
yes.
And this has got a very similar story where the pilot reports flying over that area and not seeing it there, flying back, and it was there.
Mm.
So I don't know whether that's the same pilot or it's the
No,
same.
no, different
Yeah,
pilot. Yep,
okay. But you have to wonder whether that story is accurate.
sure.
But I mean, I base my judgment on what I can see in the picture there, based
Yep.
on what I discovered from the other crop circles, looking at the Eastfield one, the Scorpion one, where you can see those combing marks quite clearly. And then you look at this one, which is one of the most famous crop circles of all time, one that is held up as definitive proof that this is the real phenomenon. Then you zoom in on that one and you can see the same combing marks on that.
I'm so glad you said that then, because I was thinking if we zoom in on this, we're going to see something quite interesting. And then you said it, so well done.
Zoomed
Uh,
in on me.
let's have a little look then. So we
Good.
zoom in, and lo and behold, we get, as you say, marks visible in the
Yeah,
flattened areas.
yeah. You can see very clearly on that, even though the resolution is not brilliant on that photograph. It's from '96. You can still see those marks there that are evident of board marks.
The width of a board mark going around and around and around, flattening, and it's
Yeah,
creating something that probably wasn't very visible on the ground, but
yeah.
is much more
You
visible
can see,
from the air.
and
Yeah.
certainly at the time, those kind of things weren't being picked up by anybody, and I think you were, at the forefront of that kind of thing and pointing this thing out. And I remember you talking about this a number of years ago, and I wouldn't accept all this. And I used to try and find crop circles that didn't have all this on, and you can always find some that you can't see it on, but on most of them you can see it, and you were absolutely right on that. And also you can see in the center of the spiral is the line, which is um, the marking line for the what do you call it?
We call it the
Uh,
walk line, the walk mark. Yeah. And that's
you
where
can see
you
it
actually
on
scribe the design out, so you've got somewhere to stand to put all the pieces in after you've made this line. Yeah.
yeah. So this formation's got all the hallmarks of being a man-made formation, yet it's held up as definitive proof almost that this was not man-made. So there's a real discrepancy there. And again, if you look at the circles there, they're not entirely round, some of them, and there are a few mistakes, I think, on that, particularly on the end of that tail, doesn't quite follow the same line exactly. So that one to me throws the whole debate wide open. But this is still held up as proof of a real phenomenon. So yeah, and as I point out in my talk, there's also the circle right in the center there, which a circle maker pointed out that was there to help them mark it out. So that's the one right at the top end of the spiral.
Yes.
If you're following the natural Fibonacci sequence as that formation was, then you shouldn't need that one there. So if this was an alien-made formation doing a Fibonacci sequence, starting off small, getting larger, and getting small again, that one is out of place. It doesn't belong in the formation, and it seems to be just there as a place to mark out the rest of the formation. So that was interesting background from a circle maker there. So that one, you know, if you think, well, if that one's man-made, then most of the other ones must be as well. So that was a big one for me, I think.
Yeah, if you apply those rules, certainly, seeing the underlying pathway, which it isn't there in all circles, and I know that certain circle makers will go out of their way. It takes a lot more effort to do it, but they will go out of their way to not have an underlying path because they choose to challenge themselves to do it that way to show that it can be done. But it's just the general technique that people will use will tend to show those types of marks. Not always, but generally.
Yeah, I must say, some of the more recent ones, you don't see that as much.
Yes.
And obviously techniques are improved, and more people are aware of these things, the board marks and so on, and are taking extra measures to make sure they're not seen. So yeah, it makes it more interesting.
Well, if you imagine, I mean, what you have to do is when you're standing in a position and you're making, say, a circle around the edge, which you'll eventually flatten the whole thing down. If you stand in the center and you've got your tape measure and you move around, I'll put it full screen so people can see me, and then you move around, the person walks the edge of the field and they're stepping sideways, which we know is crabbing, so that they're flattening all of that area. Now that's going to be visible if people look around the edges of the circle. They'll see a very short 1 foot width of crop that would be visible at the edge, and then when it's being flattened with the boards, all of the segments where the combing would be bigger. So this line on the edge would have been marked in with a foot width, and that foot width will also be visible in say the large arc that went right the way through. Let's bring it back up. That would be visible. This foot size one. Oh, hang on, we're on the wrong screen. Here we are. This foot width would have been visible all the way through here, and you could see bits of it, and it would have been visible there. And if you lift the crop up, you would see it underneath each of these circles. There would be a little foot wide, sort of line that went through all the circles. Now, all you have to do in order to not do that is to not press the crop down when you're stepping sideways, but to lift your leg and step over. And what you do is you keep marking around, and when you get to certain positions, you put a stake in the ground. So you can put stakes in the ground of each of these circles where you want them to be, and come back to them and fill them in. But then you won't have the arc line. The arc line won't be there then because you'll have been stepping over the crop. So that's how you can do that to make that effect invisible. But there we are. So very interesting point. Thanks for that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Do you want to have a look at the next slide?
Certainly.
That sort of leads us on really to, I think it's a more recent one. The next one, is it?
This is Polar Clock, June 2012. It's got on there. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is from this year, of course, and this one I've included not because of any particular attachment to that particular circle, but it was one of the early ones in the season, about June this year, and got a lot of attention from researchers and the like. And it was at this time I'd had a correspondence with one particular researcher who was talking about why they don't support the man-made aspect, and it's all criminal, it's all illegal activities, and it's immoral, all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I pointed out to her, I said, well, this particular formation is all over the internet at the moment, and there's all kinds of things being written about it, all kinds of theories as to what it means, etc., etc. And but my point was that this has got, to me, looking at that, that's got the same markings as the other ones. It's got the same indications of a man-made crop circle. It's clearly got those combing walk lines along there, and it is certainly not beyond most circle makers to do quite comfortably. So that's got every indication that that's a man-made formation, and nothing to me to indicate that that could have been made by paranormal means or alien means or whatever. Yet this particular formation was everywhere at this time. There wasn't that many good circles around at that time, so this was getting a lot of attention. And my point was, well, if you're condemning circle making as illegal and criminal and etc., everything bad about it, but then you're promoting it on your website and looking into deep meanings without having shown any evidence that it's come from any other source, then surely you're supporting that. Okay?
Yes.
So I see how you can, on the one hand, condemn something as criminal and outrageous, and on the other hand, you're promoting it. So basically, there's, they're actually encouraging more circle making in that way by doing that. So I think that's more of a moral issue. If researchers are promoting these circles, which they, well, I'm sure they know many of them are man-made, but they've got no other proof that it's made any other way. And my point to this particular researcher was that surely the emphasis must be on the researcher who believes it's coming from another source to prove otherwise, because the only method that's been proved crop circles are made is man-made.
Yes.
That's been proven. Okay, no other method of making a crop circle has been proven. So I think the emphasis has to be on the believer to show that it is not man-made before they actually start promoting them on their websites. Otherwise, they are condemning, in their own words, a criminal act. So they are supporting a criminal act. But I don't personally see it in the same harsh light as they do as a criminal act. It's against the law, but how we define criminal is another thing. But I think it's a real moral dilemma. I think that researchers have to wrestle with. If they're condemning it as a illegal, immoral act, you surely then have to prove that it's not man-made before you plaster all images all over the internet, um, and put them on calendars and talk about them at conferences, all this kind of thing, because that's how they're making their living at the end of the day. So I think that's a real issue that they have to sort out.
That's an interesting point. I mean, I just say they know and they choose not to do it because it's money. That they say that these things can't be made by people because that's the easy way out, really. If you
Yeah,
say, well, we don't know what it is, but we know it's not people, well, what you're saying is, well, I don't really have to do any research now because I know it's not people, so I don't have to do any. It's
yeah,
like you could just stand back and muse all day long about what could be making them, but you've got no proof
yes,
over it. And yes, there's
yeah,
a disconnect between researchers and obviously the information exchange. There's no circle makers speaking at these conferences, and there's none of
no,
this stuff about the combing being there talked about. It's all about,
no.
why the Pleiades is probably involved and which alien species is trying to talk to them and, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit of a
Well, that's what
strange
I
one.
mean. It's very, very one-sided, and And I think they're missing a real trick here with not looking at the man-made thing, as we'll get on to in a short while. But it's the hypocrisy that I find difficult, and the fact that there are circles that are clearly man-made, and anyone with half a brain can work out that people could do that. Yet they are talked about and promoted as if it must have come from someone else, and people have no skills to do this, which is completely wrong. In fact, if you look at the next slide, I'll maybe just take that on a little bit further.
Certainly. Okay, so in this one we were looking at the polar clock then. I suppose the thing to do would be if we just zoom in, just have a quick look at some of these
Yep.
marks that are there before we move on, because you can see there's obviously construction lines which
Yeah.
are arcs, or what could possibly be construction lines which carry on from the bits that have
Yeah.
obviously been
Yeah.
flattened in. But also there's a lot of this combing effect, there's combing,
Oh,
combing,
it's
combing.
very clear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very easy to spot it in this one. So yes, I mean, certainly I'm looking at a spot now, and the combing is very evident in many of
Mm.
these areas. So yeah, I mean, interesting, interesting. Let's move to the next
Yeah.
next slide for you. Okay, now there's 9 formations here in a mosaic.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Okay. I thought it was the box one, but oh
With
yeah.
the
Well, that's okay. That's just some of the crop circles that appeared this year, um, which are, as you can probably see, not some of the better ones of this year. Um, and these are all clearly man-made in my view. And I think anyone that can't see that they're man-made, needs to take a look at themselves, I think. Um, my point is that these ones all appeared on the major crop circle research sites. Okay, if they are really serious about condemning man-made formations as a criminal act, then why aren't these left off? Why are they included in their annual count of crop circles?
Hmm.
That's what I don't understand. So it's almost as if the number of circles that appear is important. So we can say we've had 68 circles this year, even
Yeah.
though 40 of them are crap. We've still
Yes.
got 68 circles, but they'll put the circle count up there, and they'll put every picture on here, and they'll put ground shots of every crop circle, but not mention anywhere that this is obviously a man-made one. So I think you know that's a little bit strange, and particularly if they appear in Wiltshire, of course, and which gives it a little bit more mystique. And I do
Hmm.
know that there have been other crop circles that have appeared in other parts of the country that haven't even been noticed, and some of them better than those that won't appear on some of these sites because they're not in Wiltshire.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, that's true.
mm. So yeah, the focus does tend to be on all that, and I think a little bit more discernment is needed there. Either that or honesty.
Well,
Yeah,
I've said in the past that circles that look like some of these really look half finished, or maybe by new teams, maybe people
yeah,
learning. They may have been mistakes which people have walked away and left
yeah,
the circle, and not finished
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And what I'm drawn to kind of say with formations like that is that you know there's an argument made by people who run the conferences and call themselves researchers that there are never any half-made formations out there.
mm, yeah,
There's never anything half-made or rubbish out there. So
yeah,
because everything is so good and there's never any mistakes, that
mm,
you should believe that therefore the whole thing must be
yeah.
paranormal. And
That's right.
as you've just shown, there's some pretty basic circles that you may agree or may not agree, but I mean, you may agree that look like they're either from newcomer teams, are a bit amateur, or maybe even have mistakes. They're actually quite rough. I mean, look at this one down the bottom here, which I'm highlighting. I mean, does that not look extremely rough? And what about this one up here? Does that look like somebody started to try and do something and they lost the plot of what they were doing and just decided to walk away and sort of made
Yeah.
this mark to hide whatever they were trying to do and walked away? I mean,
Yeah.
to me, these are the examples of messy, half-finished circles. So
Yeah.
when these researchers don't talk about this in the conferences and they will make these statements that there are no half-finished, no test circles, nothing like that, then I don't think they're telling people the truth about these formations. So as you
Yeah.
say, they're using them to their own benefit to make up the numbers.
Yeah, that's right. They'll quite happily include them on the website and include them on the crop circle count, and that's what people remember. People don't remember those circles, but they'll say, "Oh yeah, there were 68 circles in England, so it was a good season." But
Yeah,
there was a
68
lot.
circles and half of them could have been shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In fact, there's another one I think is on the next slide, which I can just look at, which just illustrates the point a little bit more.
Okay, we're bringing up the slides and we got the square one. I think you were looking for this one. Yep. So
Well, that's
we have that now. Yep.
yeah. I haven't got it on my screen. There we are. But I mean, that's half decent. You know, it's a good attempt at a three-dimensional box. But to me, again, it's obviously man-made, and there are mistakes in that. It's a little bit skew width, and you can see the lines, the combing marks, and things like that in there. But again, this one got a lot of publicity on a lot of the sites. I think as it was a very slow season to start, they were desperate to grab hold of anything and really build it up. And this one featured quite a bit. And can I just ask you to move on to the next one, Matt?
Yep. Okay, we're just having a little look around the edges at the comb marks, which you
Yeah,
can
sure.
see. You can see the comb marks here in the tramways, the pathways, and you can see them in the circles at the top. There's combing,
Mm-hmm.
combing. It's all
Yeah,
over, and definitely at the bottom you can see combing there as well. So yes, absolutely. So yes, we move on to
so
the
completely
next.
man-made. Yeah.
Yes, it looks like it's got the hallmarks that could easily be from a man-made formation, unless, of course, you want to take the conspiratorial view that, well, maybe these effects are left there by the aliens. And if so, what does that mean? Are aliens using boards, or maybe they're lasers that they etch them into the field with? They sort of go
Yeah.
backwards and forwards like a scanning device, going
Yeah.
scanning them into the field. So you could go that far if you wanted to, and I'm sure some
Yeah.
researchers would love to sort of say that's
Yeah.
the case. But right, we
That's right.
have the.
Yeah. We're trying to.
Sorry, go ahead. We have
Well,
this square next to a an
well, that's the
overlay,
same.
an
That's the
overlay
same
now.
formation,
Mm.
and it's this is just an illustration of how that kind of formation is presented on some of these sites. Now you can see the image on the left is the same box, but it's from a different angle, and to me that looks as if it's been adjusted slightly to make it look straighter, and it definitely looks better there. So I don't know if there's a little bit of um, photoshopping involved in that, but it certainly it shows how the camera and the photography work can
Mm.
make a circle look better.
Mm.
And and then on the right is I found this an extraordinary um, image. This appeared on a Facebook feed that I got, and that overlaid the the interior of the Great Pyramid of Giza on top of this box. And I was mystified as to how they made the connection and who made the connection as
Yes.
to how that skew width box represented the Great Pyramid of Giza and all its internal networks and so on. And I made a comment on Facebook to that degree, and
I
I
bet you were
think
popular.
they removed it.
I was going to say, I bet you were popular. I bet they're like, die now, Nazi scum.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't think it even got that far. I think it was so ridiculous, this, that they even saw that themselves and removed it.
Oh, right, they
But
removed the reference to this picture. Right, okay.
yeah, but it was, I think it was a slightly different picture that appeared on there. But it just showed to me, well, how how these kind of things are built up and meanings are attached to them, that
Mm.
there's no basis in a lot of it, and overlays are put on. How, I mean, how did we get to that, to the Great Pyramid of Giza? I just can't figure that out. You could overlay anything on top of that and say
Yeah.
that it fits.
I, I'm
And you
just
get these,
sorry. Go ahead.
so you get these kind of things all the time on certain websites
I'm looking
that
at it now, and I mean, the where they start putting the circle, because it's like a crosshairs, there's a big crosshairs from left to right here, and where they put this crosshairs is in no way at the center of this
yeah.
square. It's not the center of the square. It's not the center of the side of a square, one of the sides of the square. It's not the center of, uniformity. If you take the overall size, it's off to one side. It's off to one
Yeah.
side, so it's not even in the center. And then you've got the triangle, which doesn't line up to anything, and the sides of this triangle, well, it
Yeah.
hits one line. It hits one line. So two
Yes.
sides of the triangle hit nothing.
So
It's
I
just
know it
crazy.
means nothing. It means nothing.
It's crazy, isn't
Um,
it? This is Freddie Silver territory, by the way, but he does a
yeah.
lot. He does a lot of this stuff. I'm not saying that Freddie Silver's work is in any way, shape, or form absolute crap. I wouldn't say such a thing.
Okay.
I would never ever say that Freddie's work was anything other than absolute genius. There is no way in this world I would ever say that Freddie Silver's work was shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you get there's a lot of this kind of
honest,
thing, and
honest.
immediately you get all of this kind of thing gets the immediate public reaction of phenomenal, amazing. This proved it's real, and I don't think there's any real analysis from a lot of people. They just will accept whatever is stuck up there, and there's all kinds of bizarre links drawn with various things that
There's certain
have
there
no
are
base
certain
in
researchers out
reality.
there that I really would be much happier if they would accept certain things stuck up there. Yes, so yeah, I would agree with you on that. Yes, certain people do accept things stuck up there. I wish that there would be more things stuck up there for researchers.
Yes.
So yes,
Okay.
I've thrown him now. Look,
Right. I think we're.
right, next photo.
So I'm looking at your delayed picture there. That's why I'm throwing
That
there.
that's the one.
Um,
Why don't we,
okay.
for a
So
second, have a look at what people have been writing in the channel,
okay.
and it'll give you a chance to have a think of something to come on to, which we're coming to the next photos. So we've got the one from Yatesbury, which is next, by the way, if you want to sort of prepare for that one. But
Okay. Yeah.
people in channel, somebody was saying, Wraithy is saying there's an asteroid to pass within the moon's distance on February the 15th, 2013. Oh dear. Right. Okay. What else we got? Wraithy says, what colour was the UFO he witnessed?
UFO eyewitness.
That you
Ah.
witnessed? Yes.
Well,
Sounds like.
the lights I saw were predominantly green with some white, and it was a triangular formation.
There we go.
But the actual body of the craft I couldn't see. It was just lights.
Hmm.
Although it was quite close up, I could only see the outline of the lights there. But a bank of green lights across one end, that was what really drew my attention. It was quite a weird thing.
Hmm. Wraithy again. He's following the format that we have for the show, so he remembers from previous shows. If you really want to get the attention of the speaker, or you want me to notice your comment, it's not just a general comment in chit chat inside the channel. If you put it in capitals, I'll probably notice it a little bit more. So Wraithy's following that format, and he's getting my attention. So he says, "Does man-made mean it isn't real? What is real?" Does
Well,
man-made mean it isn't real? I mean, what is
well,
real? You know.
well, the real debate, the real or man-made thing is if it's not man-made, it's real. That's always the argument. But I know what the person's meaning there is. A man-made circle is just as real as anything else, and I think they're all real. But that's the term that's used, isn't it? And it's perhaps a misleading one. It perhaps that again we shouldn't use that term because it does imply that man-made ones are not real, in which case they're a hoax. And I don't go along with that theory. I think they're all. Yeah.
Wraithy again comes out with a very interesting point. I am reading all the other people's points, by the way, but he's just come out with some interesting stuff here. And he says, once there was a circle maker from Solihull called Simon who went mad. Do you know such a person from Solihull?
No, I don't.
I'll have to find out who that is then.
I don't know called Simon, I'm afraid.
So okay.
All right, sorry to hear about him.
I wonder how mad he went completely. Oh, well, it was a temporary thing. I don't know. So let's have a look at. He never seen. Once in 1962, this is from Wraithy again in Lincolnshire, a single ring crop circle appeared in 1962. So I don't know why he's making that point, but Lincolnshire. Okay, so so what are we saying? He said they didn't grow rape in 1962. Somebody says. Who's that? Nashus. So let's have a look. It says Ava Bastard says this fractal, which I think they're talking about the Julia type fractal that you were explaining that had the co-marks in it earlier on. Ava Bastard says this fractal no longer looks as wonderful as it once did to me. So, and then Yogi follows up with nor does my wife. So then once the drink wears off, then you sort of you're stuck then, aren't you? Yes. So right, Wraithy says, cut to the quick. Why are they being created? Never mind who is the creator. Just why are they created? Never mind the creator.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. I think we get too bogged down with, who created them, and as we look at shortly, I think there's more to be said on the purpose of them than who made them. I'm to be honest, I've had enough of talking about who made them and trying to argue the point it's man-made or it's not aliens and things like this. It gets a little bit tiresome. So I'm certainly trying to move on from that. And as we go through these slides, I think hopefully that the meaning aspect we'll maybe talk about a little bit more.
Yep, sure, okay. By the way, Colin Andrews, I'm seeing has logged in, and he says Matt Robb just logged in and watching from the USA. So the great man himself there.
Hi, Colin.
Yes, and sort of he took that brave step as you've done to kind of tell it how it is.
Well, yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Colin. I've had communication from him a few times by email, and he's been supportive of what I'm doing, which is nice. And I think he's a brave guy that has gone out on a limb and changed his view on the crop circle phenomenon in terms of the possible outcomes, possible origins of it. And I have to respect someone that does that. I think I wish there was more researchers that actually went with their gut feelings and went with the evidence and actually started to change their mind. But it seems like there is a wall up there with a lot of researchers that they will not go past this point, and it's like dogma, and they're stuck within their own dogma and can't move past that. Even though I think sometimes they can see the truth, they don't want to go there. So I respect anyone that does do that. And there's been a few researchers that have changed their mind on this and gone public with it, and have had a hard time with it. And I think I don't think that's particularly fair. I think we really ought to be giving the harder time to the people that are not opening up to the evidence, because to me it's becoming clearer and clearer. And I think there's a much bigger story to uncover than who done it. So that's really what I'm looking at now. And I have a lot of similar ideas on this to Colin, like his thoughts on the crop circle phenomenon. So
Yeah, well,
what's that?
interestingly, Colin is saying that he's writing a new book. I've just noticed, and some people are kind of interested in what it might be about. So Colin has then come on to say that I think he's talking generally about crop circles, that this is about a large range of paranormal subjects and the common association with human consciousness. So that's what he's writing about, I think. And much of what he's writing about, he goes on to say then, yes, is missing at the moment from what Rob is saying, or at least what he's heard so far. So I think what he's saying there is, do you know anything about the paranormal sides of crop circle making? And how that interfaces, people making circles, strange things happening in the circles. That sounds like it's something he wants to hear, perhaps. And have you got any experiences of that sort of stuff yourself?
Well, not myself, but I have met with a few circle makers that have had a lot of experiences. Some of them this year. And that, to me, is a very interesting area of research. And I think it's where the real mystery is. And that's what we really ought to be to look at. And I think if we move on to the next slide, I think the next one should be an interesting story on that line.
Yes, this is the one that appeared near Yatesbury. And I think it's...
that's the Yatesbury one.
This is the flower, which is... I think Robert.
Yeah, that was one. I'll get on to the other story in a second. I'll just briefly mention that.
The one after that. The one after that is the square at Hackpen Hill. It's the three-dimensional square.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Are these either of the ones you want?
If you skip on one again, I'll just move past that.
We've got one that looks like a mosaic puzzle or something like that, with squares that kind of... they almost looks like you move them around to kind of like fit the.
Okay. Well, I just put that on there for the quote there.
Yes, crop circles are not problems.
Yeah, not problems to be solved, but mysteries to be entered like labyrinths. That's my favourite quote about crop circles, because it sums up to me where the real mystery is. It's not about who made it. It's about the mystery that surrounds the whole subject. And there's a lot more to learn. If we can just get off this idea of who made it and arguing about all this kind of thing, to me, I've now moved past the point where it matters who made it. So it's what's happening around it, which is much more interesting. So if you look at go on to the next slide, I think we're on to the current.
We've got one that's a ground shot, looking at a circle going off into the distance with trees. Is that the one that you're thinking?
Which one was that? Oh,
it looks like a ball of light footage by the looks of it. We can come back to that later on.
Okay, well, we'll just work our way towards that one. But this is related to that. This is a photo I took. I can't remember the order the photos are in. You see, this is a photo that I took. There's a few here in a row of balls of light that I captured on film. This was the summer before last. This is a formation just off the M4 near Yatesbury. And so these balls of light that weren't visible at the time, but were captured in the photographs. And balls of light are synonymous with crop circles, and seem to have some kind of interaction with people. And I think this is an interesting element of crop circles, that we get these balls of light appearing. There's three in that image there. And I'd photographed a number of different formations that day, but they only appeared in this one formation. But I think they are something to do with the presence of energies. Like I was saying earlier on, I got the tingling of the face, things like that. it to me indicates that there is something present there. I don't think they are alien or extraterrestrial or anything like that, but I think the balls of light represent some kind of physical manifestation of an energy form that maybe comes from somewhere else, perhaps other dimensional. And this is much bigger, brighter balls of light that have been reported by circle makers and people visiting formation. That's another one. That was one that was visible to the people in the circle. That was someone who was a friend of mine online at one time. He was in the circle, this one at the top left there, and saw this ball of light come over the hill. I think it was Milk Hill, where that was, and photographed it coming over, an orange ball of light, and it went into the crop just alongside them. And it was him and his girlfriend were in the formation at night, and this whirled around the crop nearby them, and it scared the living daylights out of them, and they left the field at that point, scared about what might happen and what this was. And that's a kind of scenario that's happened a number of times to people visiting formation and circle makers. I think you've had similar experiences yourself, Matthew.
Indeed, yes. Yep. Many times seen balls of light and strange things in the sky that can't be explained. And we've had, I mean, I was there with a friend one night and we saw something that was so large. It was a ball of light, but it was so large you could sort of reach out your hands in front of you and sort of put one to the left and one to the right of it. It would have taken a couple of feet in the air in front of you with your hands held out, a couple of feet wide, to actually put your hands to the left and to the right of this object hanging above us in the sky, which was amazing, absolutely amazing. So let's bring back your image so we can see it. Yes, very interesting stuff. A lot of it out there, and is it connected with making circles, or is it something that just happens to be in the area anyway?
Well, it could be. It could be something that's in the area anyway. But I think that area, as we've discussed before, it's a powerful area energetically, and balls of light have been seen around that area. But I just wonder whether it's something to do with that area and the amount of historical sites there that are part of that. And I think it taps into the area that Colin talks about in terms of the consciousness, and the fact that it's such an old, ancient area, so much history there. Those memories are recorded in the land, and there's a lot going on there. And I believe very much in this idea of the Akashic record and all the morphic fields, things like that. Where everything is recorded, everything is a part of, everything in history is somehow recorded there, and we can tap into it, and I think we can access what's going on in this Akashic record or the morphic field, and these balls of lights may be a physical representation of a manifestation from that field. And I think it's something, like Rupert Sheldrake, who came up with the morphogenic fields idea, he talks about this collective unconscious, where we've got all these memories stored, all the thoughts, everything is somehow like a huge database up there. I actually think it's slightly more than that. I think it's more, he talks about it more in a passive way, that we can tap into these ideas that are somehow just in the atmosphere, that we can tap, and our intellect or instinct can just tap into it. And this is where we get ideas of inspiration from. We act on impulse based on things that we're picking up from there. But I also think there is a more active element to it as well, which is a much more conscious part of it. And I think the balls of light are part of that. And as we look a little bit further, there are elements of not just balls of light, but actual beings, it would appear. Physical, well, I don't know whether it's physical, but certainly um, uh, more humanoid type manifestations that come up. And we'll look at that in a sec.
Okay.
If you move on to the next picture,
Will do. Just bringing it up now. This is somebody lying down, lady lying down. Looks a bit funny. Let's get this one on the screen.
I don't think that's one of mine.
No, she's sort of lying down. I don't know whether she's got any knickers on, but she seems to be welcoming something, some sort of crop circle energy or something. Yeah, and then there seems to be a figure or something standing in the background.
Yeah. That's one. That's a picture I came across recently of a crop circle in Canada, and there is a strange sort of manifestation behind her, which I think in the article this appeared, they were sort of saying, well, it's like a ghost figure, this kind of thing. But it's reminiscent to me of you get a lot of reports, particularly from circle makers, of these mysterious black shadowy type figures. And I'm just wondering whether that's something to do with the same kind of phenomenon as they have experienced. But it's an interesting photo, but it just shows, it looks like there's some kind of interaction going on there. This thing standing at the edge of the field, at the edge of the circle, and seemingly looking over this woman lying there. It's a pretty rough looking circle, but I don't necessarily think that has anything to do with it. I think it's something that seems to happen when we put down a circle in the crop. Something seems to happen energetically, and I think that there could be something to do with the geometry. It could be something to do with the area, with the lays, but the combined elements of that and the living crop itself seems to open up to other elements and allows them in. So
I think this lady in the photo is opening up and wanting to let other elements in. I was just wondering whether or not this strange figure that looks like he's might be wearing a sort of cloak or a hood. He's monk-like looking. I mean, I wonder whether he's like the ancient keeper of the knicker fabric. And because she doesn't seem to be wearing any, but I'm not sure about that. But maybe he keeps such things, and maybe he's sort of there to make sure that she doesn't expose herself anymore. But yes, this is a sort of like paranormal calendar for sort of crop circle lovers, where they get their tits out off of the crop circle calendar or whatever. But yeah. No, they only do that on firemen's stuff, isn't it? And firemen calendars.
Okay, let's have a look at the next one.
Okay, we've got a strange black figure standing.
That was one, another one of this kind of mysterious kind of black figure, and that was one I used in my talk. And actually, I realised later that was Andrew Perker took that photo. In a crop circle, and there was a few different images of that. It was something that wasn't apparent at the time, but they picked it up later. They saw this image in the pictures in the distance. It wasn't very close to them. They've zoomed in there. But this idea of these sort of mysterious black figures appearing in and around crop circles is intriguing, I find. Because there's nothing else similar to that I've seen, but it just seemed to be synonymous with crop circles, it appears. And it was another major feature of something that happened this year. And I think if you go on to the next slide, Matt, I think we're on to that one.
Okay, let's have a look. Okay, we've got part of what looked like this could have been a sword if it had been finished. The sword formation.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the knoll down one, isn't it?
That's a knoll down from this year, isn't it? I believe.
From this year. Now,
Yeah.
this is one that had a lot of interesting stories attached to it. Now, and there was an event that happened around about the summer solstice involving this formation and one other formation as well, which I think is on the next slide.
Okay.
And it involved these black figures. And I've spoken to some of the circle makers that were involved with this formation, and the one on the next slide.
Yeah, is it this one? Yes, yeah.
And, they've recounted their experiences of this, and it seems truly terrifying what they encountered. That in both of those cases, they were forced to abandon the circle because they were scared out of their wits, basically. There were some black figures of some sort, shadowy type figures, appeared in and around the circle, around the edges of it, and seemed to be wanting them to leave. There was a lot of noise of them moving through the crop, although there's no disturbance in the crop apparent from that, but there was certainly the noises around them were overpowering to them from all accounts. And then they saw sight of these black shadowy figures, and also heard a lot of sort of loud, inaudible whispering, which is another strange feature. And see, if you pan back on that one, Matt, you can actually see there's an exit point on that.
Oh yes, yes, which is sort of around here, where it looks like something's come out of the field. And
in the top left, you can actually see where they exited the circle before they'd even finished it. They basically got too terrified, legged it through the crop, didn't go through the tram lines, just went straight through the crop and then out, and abandoned it like that. And there was a third one involved in this this night as well, on the same night, where they also experienced these kind of weird black shadowy figures and strange noises, and they didn't even get as far as making a circle. They were scared out of the field before they'd even started, and one of the people was left in a real state of trauma, apparently. So whatever happened to them was certainly very real, and it was very frightening. So it was quite a negative experience, and this is again, this was quite a new thing to me, because I've heard of this kind of thing, but not in such a negative way. So it seemed to be definitely indicating to these people that it or whatever it was did not want them to be making these circles and chase them out of the field. So whatever's going on is not all positive. So that creates a little bit of a dilemma for many people, because we like to think that there's energies out there, but they're all positive. And that's the way I was looking at it until I heard all this story. And but from that, it seems that there is certainly a more negative aspect to it, and there's a darker energy out there that seems to be anti-crop circles in some way. And it was interesting on that one, the Knoll Down one as well. There was like an image of a huge face actually etched into the crop itself, which was another weird aspect to it.
Well, that looked like was it something in the field above? Are you talking about this sort of strange marking, like as if it was one half of a face?
Yeah, the other one. Yeah, it was just. I'm not saying that's anything in particular, but it's just another strange element that you would have that face etched into the crop. It's only visible from the air, but and that was where all that drama happened.
Yes. Was this one where people had left before finishing as well?
Yes, that was left before finishing. In fact, you see the image on the right-hand side. That is apparently what they were trying to do, the dagger. So you can see just one half of the handle was complete, and they abandoned it. And then this crop circle became famous for other reasons later in the week, because this was talked about as a genuine or real formation that had appeared in daylight hours, which is, again, was a strange aspect to this story, considering that I'd heard all of this about it before that had even been reported. So some researchers were obviously getting their information from very different sources, and they went with its real daylight theory rather than this, which I think is a much more interesting theory in terms of the background to that. This weird paranormal goings on around this circle were just ignored by most researchers, and instead somebody picked up on this idea that this was created in daylight hours. I think they were just basing that assumption on the word of a tourist, from what I can gather, that had just seen it and said it wasn't there earlier, which it was, because it was there for about 5 or 6 days prior to that. It just hadn't been noticed.
And again, I believe was backed up by the same pilot who said, well, I fly over there all the time and I never saw it. But I think a lot of people actually pointed out that it probably was there. Monique Klinkenberg has got footage, I think, which she's not given anyone high resolution footage copies of. But I believe it was probably visible in that. But she was showing low resolution versions and saying, well, you can't see it. And it's like, well, it is so small that it would be easy to miss. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very small, but it just, to me, it shows where the emphasis of the researchers is totally wrong. They would rather go with a half-baked story that shows that this, what seems to show that this is a real or genuine formation of unknown origin, and yet ignore the much more interesting story, I think, about these shadowy figures and the weird paranormal events that these people experience. For me, that should be the first thing that a crop circle researcher should be looking at, and seeing what was that all about. Why did that happen to those people? Forgetting the fact that they were allegedly committing an offence there. That's not the big story here. The big story is what was going on there, and where did this come from, and why is it seemingly surrounding circle makers? That's interesting. And again, the idea of the real aspect was brought up by the fact that they found bent nodes in this formation, and to me that just shows that bent nodes can occur in any formation, because I know that that was a man-made formation. Yet it was held up as, again, proof that this is not a man-made formation. And again, the whole bent node argument just doesn't hold up for me.
Well, it just seems like, when they want to claim these formations back, they'll make statements about there being fantastic stuff there as it suits them, and if they don't like it, then even if they were bent nodes, blown nodes, and whatever else in there, they would say, oh, no, it was crap, So they're a very fickle bunch, but yes, we've got...
But the bent nodes thing just seems to be one of those things that, pardon the pun, it's like clutching at straws, isn't it? It's one of the things that they still seem to have that they can convince people with, that a formation is genuine. Yet people who look into the bent nodes aspect and look at the real science behind it know that can occur in crop anytime. It's just a natural process of phototropism. When the crop is flattened and starts to grow towards the natural light, it's certainly not the case that in all these formations that all of the stems are like that. They'll try to find one or two or a handful and use that to convince people that it's a genuine formation. And the same thing happened in the Yatesbury flower formation, the one I had a picture of earlier, which we didn't look at. But that was one that was initially regarded as a real formation and regarded as one of the best of the year.
I've got it on screen now, yeah.
Okay, and then it was revealed, that's the one. And again, they found bent nodes in there and said, well, here we are, here's proof that it's a genuine formation, and it's an impressive formation and the best of the year so far. It was about early July, I think, that one.
Yeah, and it was made by somebody who's come into channel, actually, which you probably know his name.
Okay, yeah. And it was later revealed that it was made by this team, led by this chap, Mr. Irving.
Rob Irving, yes.
Rob Irving, yeah. And they, they made it with a group of students, done a great job. But it was then proven that it was man-made. But still, you had the bent nodes, and that kind of argument was laid to rest, really.
I think the farmer was actually telling people against the team's wishes. He was telling people it was man-made, where he was supposed to keep that secret, and he was telling them on the morning it had been created, and still with the farmer standing there telling every single person who went into the formation it was man-made. It didn't stop the stories, as you've just pointed out.
Yeah, well, that was one thing. I thought it would have been nice actually if that story about it being man-made had come out a bit later. It was quite soon after it was made. But even then, because people were so excited about it and finding bent nodes, that it was declared real very, very early on.
Yes.
So it just shows that there is no real way of, determining the origin of these formations if you stick by the it's real phenomena argument.
Okay, so, well, Colin Andrews is saying that he agreed with a point you made a little while ago. This was at 10:41. Basic point that Rob was making about the orbs seen in the area. Not sure if Rob has read the book he co-authored with his wife Cynthia called The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Akashic Record. So, seeing as you were talking about the Akashic Record earlier on, he's saying he's got there's a little book there.
I'm familiar with that kind of content.
Yeah. So
yes, definitely want to get.
There we go, Colin. We plugged it for you. Look, see, yeah. But yes, we have to see if we can get Rob to get one now.
Yep.
There we are.
Definitely get one.
So
I like those ideas on these things. So yeah, it'd be a good read. Yeah.
Yeah, and Colin is saying as well, I'm reading them out because he's putting them in capitals, so they're points he'd like to sort of be read out. We've reached the end of a major cycle for humanity, and the crop circle subject is just one part of this, and we are learning lessons at this stage. So, we're still learning, and still a lot more to learn.
I think so. Well, I think the crop circles has just led us into this wider understanding, and I think it's actually led us to actually look at ourselves more in terms of what we can achieve and how we can interact with this wider consciousness. And I think that's for me is the lessons that the crop circle phenomenon has brought. But I'm beginning to wonder whether it's sort of coming full circle, if you pardon the pun, because of some of the events that have been going on this year and on a more negative basis. I'm beginning to wonder whether that the phenomenon as a positive phenomena is sort of drawing to a conclusion there, and it's ready to move on. So what it moves on to and how we develop from that, I don't know. But I almost think that we don't need it as much as we have in the past. I think it's been an awakening process.
Yes.
And
Nasher
Yeah.
put in capitals. He said, you know, and I'll try and put in the emotion that he's sort of putting across here. But he said, "This is pathetic. He's on about Perker's photos now."
On about what?
You're on about he's on about Perker's photos now. So I don't think he liked you talking about Andrew Perker's photo for some reason.
Oh, I couldn't hear what you said. Andrew Perkins, yeah.
Andrew Perker. This is pathetic. He's on about Perker's photos now. So
Okay,
yes.
that's fine.
Then Nasher is asking Rob, and see as we got you know, I think he's talking about you, not Rob Irving, but he says, Rob, what makes you think these were anything other than one group of people scaring another? And I suppose he might be talking about balls of light or
I think it's black
I,
figures.
I think he's talking about the people getting
Yeah,
scared out of a
yeah.
formation and not finishing it.
Well, I think the fact is that these black figures have been seen by quite a number of people and have been seen to be non-physical. And on one of the occasions on this particular night, one of them actually went to hit this being with his board, and it went straight through. Um, and the sort of noises
Should get
that they
better
were
quality
expressing,
boards. Sorry. The sort of noises. Carry on, sir.
the sort of noises they were experiencing were sort of unlike anything they'd ever heard. So I, and I know some of the people involved in that, and I don't think they would have just ran as quickly as they did if they thought it was just other guys. And certainly there was no physical traces of other people in the field because they could hear these beings or whatever they were in the crop around them. Yet there isn't any sort of physical traces of that if you see the overhead shots taken afterwards. So I don't think it was a case of just other people scaring them out of the fields like that.
Mm. I don't know what people are talking about in the channel, but somebody says, see if they've managed to find the elusive G spot. I don't know. Is this a spot in the field where you would start the circle and would give more energy? I don't know. So we'll have to look for the G spot at some point. There's no doubt. But yeah, somebody keeps on saying Saxon mask, Saxon mask, Saxon mask. Well, that's Wraithy. Wraithy is screaming Saxon mask. What does this mean?
No idea.
I have no idea either. But I did show a picture a minute ago of this photo.
That's the head, the face in the field, I think.
Oh, the field. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Going
I
back
think
to
that's like a Saxon mask.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what it means. Yeah,
Let's have a
it
little
could be
look.
something to do with that. Yeah.
Saxon mask. I see. Yes, because I'm trying to keep up with these questions, which I'm going through quite slowly. So we're sort of talking 10 minutes behind. But
Yeah.
yes, the Saxon mask. So and Wraith. That was I going to say. Wraith has drawn a picture, or done some digital art, which actually has a figure, like a cloaked figure, but this is in white, a white cloaked figure, actually moving around in the crop field. So, and there's details of Wraith's channel there if you want to go and have a look at Wraith's other artwork because he's a
Yeah,
talented artist. He,
I've
he,
seen that.
he
Yeah.
sends me regular millions of pound checks, which I seem to bounce every time I put them in the bank. But anyway, yes, to promote his site, which is www.unifiedfield. That's one word,
Yeah.
unifiedfield.co.uk. So go and check out his website. So yes, what else have they been saying in channel? I was looking at some of the points that I made earlier on about some of the things that happened to you because in preparation for the show we had a little chat, me and Rob, and I was amazed to find out that you'd had loads of crap for doing a talk on
Yeah.
this subject to sort of a group, and it wasn't necessarily from the group you had the crap, it was from people that didn't want you to speak at the group. Could you sort of go a little bit further and tell us about that?
Yeah. Okay. I won't go into names and stuff,
No,
but
you could. That's fine. That's fine.
yeah, but yeah, well, I did the original talk at Truth Juice in Leicester. That's the one that's online, as that was filmed professionally by a friend of mine. Then I was asked to do a couple of other talks at other Truth Juices, and one was in Nottingham, and I was nearly prevented from speaking that particular talk because there was a couple of people who had raised objections to me speaking there, which was a big surprise to me and to the organisers there. But we had to, and it was a little bit cloak and daggers. We couldn't quite work out what the objections were and who was even making the objections for a while. But it was, I was told that it was to do with some use of copyrighted material, and I had to remove that from the talk before I was allowed to speak. And it's a bit, that was quite difficult because obviously you're using a lot of images in a presentation on crop circles, and I had no idea which of the images was copyrighted. So I had to take out an awful lot in order to talk. So it ended up being a little bit of a shorter talk with less images on it. But but I found out later, you know, I did have some correspondence from the people that were objecting, and I think it was not so much to do with the images I was using, but just it was more to do with the fact that I'd used I'd used a clip in the video where this person is referred to, although not by name.
Goodness.
And
Touchy person then, obviously.
well, it was a bit hard to understand, really. But I think they were objecting mostly to the fact that it was, I mean, from what I could see, it was exposing a truth, which they
Yes.
objected to.
So stop you speaking about that, you know, their
Yeah,
footage, and hopefully it'll
except,
stop you speaking full stop. But
yeah,
it didn't
that's
have the desired
that's what,
effect.
yeah. When I'm, you know, I don't like to mention people by name on this because, like I said to this person, it's not a personal witch hunt on this. I'm not interested in bringing people down and ruining their businesses and things like this. But if I hear of something that I think is a real untruth, then that's of interest to me because I'm what I would call a truth seeker, and I'm trying to find out what's going on. And the revelation that this person made in the clip was that he knew that researchers also knew that people were making crop circles, but were not prepared to tell people. And to me, that's of real interest because if something is known, it's a major importance like that. That if they know that most of the crop circles or all of the crop circles are being man-made, and they're not telling people that, then there is a major deception there. And I think that that needs to be exposed. I'm not necessarily, as I say, I'm not interested in exposing who said that, but the fact that that was done by a major researcher is a concern, and I think it needs to be aired. That's why I included that in the talk, because it basically illustrates that what the public are getting is not the truth.
Yes.
And I'm essentially interested in just getting to the truth of the matter. And it really is difficult when you've got people at every turn blocking the truth, which is that most people, most crop circles, if not all of them, are made by people. And we've got this major mystery that is being unraveled purely by recognizing the fact that people are making crop circles. And I would never have come across a lot of these stories of these weird paranormal events and the links with consciousness and all this kind of thing. If I had not looked into man-made crop circles, I'd still be thinking oh, it's a mystery. Who's made this and why, and not getting anywhere. We can go round and round in circles forever, talking about who made this circle. Was it aliens? Was it something else? Was it supernatural phenomenon of some kind? Was it Mother Earth? What it doesn't mean anything unless you've got you can actually pinpoint who's done it in the first place. So by recognizing that people are doing this, takes us to the next level, which I think is much more interesting.
Well, it's
Um,
certainly where we need to be going. Yes.
too. And
Yeah.
we've gone in circles for so long. Another pun there, but we really we can't keep going over the same old ground. And I don't
I,
know
I
what.
think I should just still just to sort of bracket this so people don't lose the
Yeah,
point. What Rob has said here, and this is an important point, and I'm going to re-highlight it, is that somebody tried to stop him doing a talk, and they used the business of, oh, you've got some sort of copyrighted material of mine, whatever. But the important point that Rob made, which I'm going to sort of say to you, if you want to try and find out who Rob is talking about, the important point he made was that this was a big researcher involved in the crop circle world was trying to stop somebody talking about the man-made aspect. That's the important thing. I think I know who this person is, and I think people would be kind of interested to know who that person is. But as he says, Rob chooses not to disclose that on this program. But that's the important point, that there are active attempts by crop circle researchers to scupper,
yeah.
people's genuine research,
Well,
such as Rob.
well, it's not even the only time it's happened to me either. I've had another researcher try to get one of my YouTube videos removed um, uh, recently, and that was again. Well,
What was the problem with that particular
well,
video then?
the quote, there was a quote used in that which actually named this person, although the quote wasn't from me. And this person refuted this quote for saying it's unfairly representing them, etc., etc. But uh, I thought it was again a valid point that needed making, that there are people that are using the crop circle um, phenomena to their own end and are more interested in it as a business than as a truth-seeking enterprise. So that's why I included it in that video. And in the end, I agreed that I would put a little disclaimer on there saying that this person disagrees with the statement and something like that. And she was happy with that.
Ah,
So,
there we are, she. Ha ha
well,
ha
yeah,
ha ha. Ha. Oh, and of
okay,
course now you can just go and look for the video and see what videos Rob has up there that
okay,
actually states this disclaimer. Hmm.
yeah,
When,
okay.
okay.
But again, that was that to me was another bit of a shock that people would want to go to those kind of lengths.
Yes.
Uh, and both times it was, and I was maybe just using other people's words, not my own, and they were using that to try and bring me down and censor me, which and it was interesting at Truth Juice. They were saying they've had all kinds of controversial speakers there, but that's never happened to anyone else. They've never had anyone try and stop at all. So they were a little bit miffed by it, but all of that just just add a little bit of spice to it as far as they were concerned. It just to them meant that what I was saying, I must be onto something, and it adds a little bit more credibility to it, I think. So I don't think they necessarily do themselves any favors by doing
Mm.
that. It just makes people a little bit more interested in why. Why does it?
Yeah. Why
Why do
they
they
try
want
to
to stop?
cover it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
We've got
I
we've got a
think
question here from Wraithy. Sorry if I don't know if you've reached the end of that one there then, or
Yeah, sorry.
Wraithy is saying, and he's really insistent, so I better do this. He says, please ask your guest, why were there terror symbols, as in TERRA, Earth, as in terror, why were there terror symbols made with such symbolic resonance? Does that mean anything to you? Why were the terror symbols made with such symbolic resonance?
Not sure what he means there.
Terror symbols.
Terror.
TERRA, as in Earth, like Earth symbols made with such symbolic resonance. Maybe he can explain himself a little bit more. The thing is, this was quite a while back, 15-20 minutes ago he said this, so I'm just catching up. And also Mr. Anchovy says, hello Rob, a great lecture you did at the barge this summer. So he must have been there for that. So
not me.
Great. I think he's talking about Rob Irving. Sorry,
Rob
of course,
Irving, yeah.
you know, because you didn't give a talk. It was Rob Irving.
No,
yes, of course. Yeah, no, my brain was in gear. I would have realised that then. Sorry. Let's move forward. So yes, somebody's saying, is there any Skype tonight? This is kind of a test night, really. I'll see if we can involve more people with Skype on another show. I'm probably going to revert back to using the old system with some of this new system incorporated into it, because it works quite well with the Skype video. You probably agree that the frame rate is up. It's not looking as jerky and as broken up as it used to do. So this is an improvement. Somebody keeps on asking me how Cassie is, the dog. Cassie's okay, but she was ill. She was very ill on the weekend. I thought she was going to snuff it, but she's got liver problems. But she's got back and she's okay at the moment. She's downstairs asleep, so I'll leave her asleep because she needs to sleep now. But anyway, what else have we got? They're asking me to say some stuff. Does the guest ever wonder what he dies when? Do you what? Mad Hatter, this is from. Does the guest ever wonder what he dies when? Do what? Say when there isn't. What? I should have read that. Does the guest ever wonder what happens when he dies?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Does the guest ever wonder what he dies when? Do what? Say when there isn't. Come on.
Well,
come on. Haven't you got an answer to that one? You know.
Well, if he means what happens when he dies, is that what he means?
No, I think what he means is when what wonder dies. Say when there isn't. Guest ever what dies does. Yes. So have you got an answer to that?
Give up on that one.
So yeah, if Mad Hatter wants to rephrase that so we understand what the hell you're on about, then we will try and pass that one across.
Yeah, a bit clearer will be helpful.
And Mr. Anchovy, who he says the only truth is that the circle makers are the real messengers. So there we are. Somebody's asking. They're saying, I think about your points that you may have made about certain people, and they're questioning, was it Karen Alexander? This is from Cookie. They're asking, was it Karen Alexander? This is in channel. He's not going to answer it, he says. So, but nice try, nice try.
I mean, it's not important who it is, and I don't think.
Fair enough.
In all honesty, I don't think people should go on a witch hunt. I think my own feeling is there's too much animosity between researchers and circle makers, and there's becoming like a warring factions. And I try not to align myself with either, to be honest. Although I've become much more sympathetic towards the circle makers' perspective. It seems like I'm more biased on that respect, but I don't want to align myself completely with one against the other, because I think the only way this argument or this debate is going to move forward is by meeting in the middle somewhere, and that's the only way I see forward. They've got to people have got to trust each other, And I think if we keep flinging accusations at each other, it's not going to happen. It just becomes war, and they dig in their heels a bit more, and it just becomes stalemate. And I'd like to see these things end. I want to encourage researchers to openly sort of change their mind without fear of what's going to happen. I think that's a lot of the problem. Is now they are so worried about losing face that they don't want to change their mind on that. It's a bit like people that have been into global warming and things like that. They've dug their heels in and said global warming is a real thing and we've all got to change accordingly. And now the evidence suggests that it's not as they were, but they can't admit that. No one dare admit that they were wrong about global warming, and it's actually happening. They say we'll just change the name to climate change and hope that no one notices about the global warming. And it hasn't actually continued to heat up over the last 10 or 15 years. But I think then you've got those. It becomes dogma, and you're sticking to that dogma and not recognizing the truth of the matter.
Yeah, I saw something it was in the Daily Mail. I don't get the Daily Mail, but somebody sent it to me today saying that the Met Office released data showing that over the last 16 years, is it, that there hasn't been a climate change issue.
No,
in fact, it's leveling off, and it's but you don't hear about it. It's not shouted about.
No.
More people are shouting about the fact that there is climate change and it is going to make a difference. And when the research shows that actually maybe there's a different point of view, that point of view is not being heard because it's not the popular point. In fact, I think people who talk about there not being climate change or even talked about being sort of like not allowed on the BBC at one point.
Yeah, I know. It has become a lot like that. That there's an accepted view and there's an alternative view, and it's like a warring factions again.
I mean, it's the same sort of thing, the same sort of stupid dogmatic mentality, but who said, "Oh, Jimmy Savile was never capable of doing that, so he didn't do it," and kept that mindset kept going and going and going. We don't want to see what might be standing right in front of us. We're not going to see it. And then, of course, it takes all this time and loads of people to come forward until the truth actually becomes quite apparent, which is a bit sad, but
Well, some of these things have been apparent to a lot of people for a number of years, but it takes a lot to get through the truth sometimes, and it is about people being set in their dogmatic beliefs and unwilling to change them. And I think that's where we are with a lot of the researchers who have basically set their stall out, quite literally, in such a way that they're too far gone now. They can't turn back. And to now hold their hands up and say, yeah, okay, we now admit it's all man-made, it's going to be a very, very difficult thing for them to do. But I think the only way we're ever going to move on is by sort of making that a little bit easier for that to happen. So, as I said at the beginning, I sort of feel a bit sorry for them in that way, because I can sense the insecurity and I can sense that frustration, and you can see, it's slipping out of their grasp. And I think I think things are going to change very soon, and more people are waking up to the whole crop circle mystery. And I'm hoping that the contribution I've made with the videos is going to play a part in that. And as I say, the video I had last year had over 200,000 hits, which talk about the man-made aspects. And I can't recall seeing a video anywhere.
He's showing off.
No offense to you, Matt, but
he's had more hits than my videos, you bastard. Right, okay.
Well, one of the things actually, one of the things that actually inspired me to do this, Matt, was your program. I
So, all
thought,
right, then transfer those hits onto my videos then,
yeah,
and then we'll just call it
yeah.
quits. Yeah.
But what I was saying, your programs were phenomenal and really woke me up in a lot of ways to that. But my problem with that was, well, the biggest criticism I have of the programs, no, not a criticism, was that they weren't getting those viewing figures
Mm.
that they deserved. And I think they do deserve much, much higher viewing figures than they've been getting. And I thought, well, if I can get, jump on the, some of that I'm getting, jump on the bandwagon of what I've been producing, getting 200,000 hits on some of my videos, and start encouraging a little bit more of the general public to view this aspect of crop circles. Maybe it'll start waking up people. Maybe more people will tune into what you're doing here.
It'll steer more people
And
in. Yeah, yeah.
the latest, I've put a pair of videos together, part 1 and 2 of the 2012 series, and that follows the same pattern as the first, except the second one is much more heavily to do with man-made crop circles. And I'm hoping that if it follows the same way that in the part 1 of the video, which is very tame, much more just nice pictures of crop circles and nice music and all that kind of thing.
Mm.
And if those people are curious enough then to look at some of the hints and things that I put on there, to look at the second part, then you could get a lot more people waking up to what's going on here. I mean, that's basically my motivation for doing that kind of thing.
Mm.
I think it needs to move on, and I think if we can introduce more people to that aspect of it, then it could change a lot of things. And the people that have seen my talk and have seen it all the way through.
Ah, yes,
This
we
is
should
the
point this out to go and look at this. Yes. Mm.
and they've seen it all the way through. The comments I'm getting are phenomenal. Um, really very positive. And I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I was expecting to be completely slagged off by the majority of people for going down the man-made aspect. But because there's this other element to it, people are sort of starting to think, well, I thought I was going to be disappointed in this because he's talking about man-made stuff. And at the end of part 1, a lot of people are a bit disappointed, that the talks have done. People are going, oh, so it's people then, oh. But I'm saying, well, stick with it. Look at the second part and see what else there is. And then they're doing that and suddenly thinking, wow, this is more interesting than whether it's aliens or something else. And, I didn't realize there was that aspect. I didn't realize that circle makers had all these kind of experience. And this is phenomenal. This is mega. And I think, if people start to see that, the crop circle mystery, it's an entirely different mystery to what we thought it was. And that's what's frustrating about the mainstream, as I call them, researchers, who are plugging the same old agenda that doesn't move us forward. It doesn't help anyone. It might help them, with their, businesses, but that's about all it does help. And, a few American tourists might go away happy, but the world certainly isn't going to be a better place. And I see the crop circle mystery as much bigger than that. It's, I don't like to say, see it as changing the world, but it's, I like to think big like that and see that, it can have an impact on that. So
Yes.
if we follow this line of research forward much more, then I think there's a lot still to be uncovered on this.
Mm. Well, Mr. Anchovy says a good point, for a point you made earlier on, whichever point that was, but a good point nonetheless. And he says, no more war. So I think that's where you pick up what he's getting at. He says, so no more war. That goes for the circle makers and the researchers as well. And he says, just peace. So, yeah, I mean, part of my rationale for doing this show was to help people to see that circle makers are just, they're normal human beings and they're approachable. which is an idea that has been fostered by the researchers, is that you should never approach a circle maker and discuss any of this
Yeah.
stuff. And what better way to do it in a non-invasive way as a TV channel where you can just soak it up and take what you want from it, and but hear people's points of view in this fashion. So, I mean, it's good that it spurred people like Rob on to actually go and do more with it and take it out to more people and do it in a way that I possibly can't do, because I mean I have my slightly abrasive, tongue-in-cheek way that I present the show, and Rob does a good job of actually sort of presenting it in a serious way, but also I think a very easy to grasp way, because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, this is the type of video I'd show somebody, who's kind of like arguing with me about the points. I'd say, go and watch this guy's video, because you'll get the points quite well. And then if you need more detail, you'll come and watch 79 hours of Circlemaker TV bollocks, because
Yeah.
and then you'll go completely crazy.
Yeah.
Much like probably this guy Mad Hatter, who's been trying to comment again and comes out with this wonderful thing now. He says, does the guest ever wonder how he does every way in which he says but doesn't when he will what do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a Yoda situation going on here. I think it's like, you know, do you like the crop circles that make you? Yes, the crop circles that make you. Yes. So anyway, what have we got at the end?
Yeah, put a few more full stops in there, maybe, and then I could work out what it is. But, I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure.
So yeah, somebody said, "Good question, Mad Hatter." Is that a question? Oh, here we are. I would like uh, I would like to know if the guest has always known that when he does it, there is a way when he knows that he thinks it is. This is got to be a wind up, isn't it? Well, here we are.
There must be a
Matt Hatter's trying
yeah.
one last time. Let's see.
Well,
When the
yeah.
guest goes to crop circles, does he know straight away that the circle is the way it is when he doesn't do it in the way to know when it isn't that in a way? Fair play. Fair play. He's got us hooked, isn't he? We still don't know what the fuck he's trying to say, but we're trying really hard with you, Mad Hatter. Here, I think less ketamine and more English language, and you might get there. But yes, Rob, have you seen a circle being made or done one yourself? Have you been part of it? Which is a very good question. So that's from Cookie.
Oh, right. Okay.
Good point, isn't it? Good point.
Well, I have met some circle makers. Yeah, I looked into meeting one or two circle makers this summer, and because I think if you are serious about researching the subject, then you have to do that. I think unless you've spoken to circle makers, you're only going to get half the story. So I thought, and it just did happen that I, by chance, came across a circle maker who then invited me to Wiltshire to meet some other circle makers, and they invited me to watch a circle being made, and that I did take them up on. So yes, I have seen a circle being made, and I think it's an essential part of research that I needed to go out there and actually see what goes on, and you sort of you're into another little world there. I find with the circle makers world, and since then I've information about what's going on in the circle world has become a lot easier to get hold of once you've got the trust of a few circle makers. So it was definitely was a worthwhile exercise for me.
Well. You see, he's been out and seen circles be made. All I'm going to say to this is, much like the movie from the 1970s called Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right at the end where Donald Sutherland sort of turns towards the camera when he realizes that you know that somebody isn't an alien. And hearing Rob say this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this performance and turn towards the camera and go, oh! Yes. So there we are. Rob's very naughty boy. But did you actually get involved in making, or were you just an observer?
Oh, just observing.
Just
And
observing. But that's good enough. It's just still you know you got a chance to actually take in the sky and see if there's anything going on.
well,
Whereas when you're
it was,
working, it's not so easy to do, is it?
well, that's true. You know, it is an interesting experience just actually being out there. It was one of the things that I wanted to see. And this is something that people ask me a lot: is how can they do it in the dark? How can they see what they're doing?
Mm.
Um, so to actually just see that and to see how much you could actually see was worthwhile. Because again, like I said at the beginning, for me, it's about just, it's about um, satisfying myself.
Mm.
You know, you can hear all the stories, you can
Who
hear,
were misses? Yes.
yeah, this is made by people, they can do this, they can do that.
Well, tell us then. How? Come on. You've hinted, but tell us how much you can see. You can't
Well,
start. You can't start a sentence like that and then not finish it.
well,
How
you can
much can
see
you see?
enough. You can see enough to see what you're doing. That's for sure. It
Great.
was a clear night, um,
Clear
but
sky.
yeah, clear sky. And so you could certainly see, a good few meters in front of you and be able to see detail. Uh, that's for sure. And your eyes do adjust very quickly. You couldn't see maybe 30, 40 meters away any detail, even people that far away, but enough to see what was going on. Yeah, definitely.
And you could see the other team members where they would roughly
Yeah,
be in the distance.
yeah.
And you know, you can see the tape
So
going off
you
into
can
the
see a tape measure,
distance.
you can read the tape measure, things like that. Yeah.
Mm. You can read it, you know, with the larger scale, which is usually the feet scale. I find it much harder to try and read the meters and centimeters scale. But if you use the feet scale, it's usually quite large,
Yeah.
and you can sort of hold that up, and yeah.
Mm.
So yes, you're testifying as an outsider then that has seen these things being made that it is possible to do them at night
Absolutely.
with the
Yeah.
light.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question there. I mean, it answered a lot of questions for me,
Mm.
and I think if anybody has these lingering doubts, then they should do the same thing. You know, and I would recommend researchers to do the same because repeatedly that's what I hear. It's not possible. How could they do that in the dark? And it is possible.
Well, Mad Hatter's annoyed now that I can't understand the question because right, and here we go, right, because the answer would be very interesting one to hear because it is the known to do when it wasn't. There we go. You see, just get yeah. It's still really as clear as
Crystal
a
clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
clear as a muddy lake. Yes. So, what formation did he observe being made? Says
Okay.
Fixter, and he said, how long did it take? Can you tell him that?
Can't possibly say which formation it was,
Yep.
but
How long did it
well,
take?
it wasn't that long actually. I think a couple of hours, something like that. It
Hmm.
wasn't a big formation.
It wasn't a big one, no.
No, it was yeah, probably about 2.5 hours, something like that.
Right. They're the good ones, really, because you know,
Hmm.
God, you should go out on one of the big ones and spend all night there as an observer. You'll fall asleep. There's no way.
Yeah,
I don't think you'll be able to stay awake. It's just you know to watch people wandering around in the dark. I've tried to do it, you know, and it's like with a camera. I've tried to stay awake with a camera to try and film people doing it, and it's just like this is really really boring to watch. You know, you have to
yeah,
do something, hold a tape or stomp around to keep yourself awake.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it would get a bit tiring, especially that time of the night. Yeah.
Mm. And it gets cold as well if you're not actually moving around. If you're just standing about watching, you can get quite cold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can do.
yeah. So he said, Mr. Anchovy says, is it the ultimate research to make a crop circle yourself and see what happens?
Well, I suppose it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So one day, perhaps one day.
Maybe.
Yeah. And what's
But
up asking why not? Go on, carry on. You say that first. You finish.
I think it is. It probably, I can see where he's coming from that, but it's not something I have an interest in, to be honest. I mean, I experienced enough, saw enough on that particular night to answer a lot of questions for me. And my overall feeling at the moment is that we need to be moving away from making circles. I just have that feeling that it's not something we should be doing to a greater extent at the moment. I think we're sort of nearing the end of this cycle, and I think the phenomenon, whatever it is, may find another form of expression. And I think for some reason circles and circle making had to come into our lives, and it's been here for quite a while now, about 30 years or so. And it's taught us a lot of lessons. I'm just wondering if there are any more lessons to learn from it. You know, and at the end of the day, I have to think about what is, you know, what is right, and you have to think about the farmers and things like that. A lot of crop circles are perhaps a little bit too destructive, I think, to the farmer's crop, and perhaps unnecessarily. So I think if the crop circle world if it's going to move forward, I think it has to think of those issues as well, and think about why are we doing it? What are the lessons we're going to learn from doing more? If it's just an ego thing, if it's just that, then I'm certainly not interested. But if it's to learn something about our true nature, then it's still an interesting thing. And I think we're almost coming to the end of the cycle on that, I think. And I'm just looking to see what the next step is. And I think it could spill over into other areas. I'm not entirely sure what is going to happen or what other areas there may be, but I just get that feeling that it's going to morph into something else.
Yeah. They're in channel. They're saying, "Come on, tell us the formation, Rob." And then somebody says, "Oh well, you know, if he won't tell us which formation it was, maybe he can just tell us where it was." And it's like, come on, guys. If he tells you where it was, I think you're going to work out which formation it was.
Within England.
Was it? It was in England. Good. There we are. You see. Now that just shows you. You know. So you've narrowed it down. It wasn't in the Netherlands. It was in England. So yes, but there we go. I mean, we're getting on for probably about 20 to 12 at the moment. So I think we probably need to start wrapping things up really, as I get told these shows are way too long. But everyone's still chatting in channel and asking questions, you see. And Rob seems like he doesn't have a life, you know, maybe a job to go to or anything, you know. So why don't we just keep him here forever? But no, I think he probably does have a life and family and kids and a job, and he won't be able to keep those unless he goes to work tomorrow. So yeah. Yeah, so we should really wrap this up, I think, for the sake of sanity. But it's been really interesting having you on the show, and we may well get you back again if you've done some more stuff that needs to be talked about and some new videos. But what we should do is really tell people where to watch your video, your big video on this
well, I've
Revelations.
got two sites on YouTube. One is the username of YouTube user is Zenrabbit, and that's ZENNRABBIT, and the other one is Zenrabbit with one N, but a number one at the end, Zenrabbit1. The second site, Zenrabbit1 with one N, has the full length talk on it, 2 hour in 2 parts.
Zenrabbit,
yeah.
ZENRABBIT. It says the channel was closed.
But maybe I've been closed down while I've been on air.
No way.
Zennrabbit.
Z-E... Oh, two N's. Zenrabbit with two N's. R-A-B-B-I-T. Okay, I had one N. Okay.
That's got...
oh, yeah. That one's still okay. So there was somebody else.
That's got everything. But the talk is in several parts on there. If you want to see the full talk without too many interruptions, there's another site where it's in just 2 parts, an hour each, and that's Zenrabbit 1, and Zenrabbit with 1 N in that one.
Yeah.
That's
okay. So it's
yeah.
called The Rabbit Hole of Truth, and we're looking a little bit at one of your videos here.
That's the current video of the 2012 season. There's a season of them called Look Closer, so that's the 2012.
This is part 2.
Oh, that's part 2, yeah, which is the more interesting part, which goes into much more detail about the background to the circles. Are you playing it?
I am playing it.
Okay. It's got sound on it.
Yes, we've got the sound. You can't hear the sound because it's not patched through to you. But yeah, so basically, head on over down to Zennrabbit's, and this is his. I like his graphic. I'm very keen on that. I like that. And this is his name. If you want to sort of get onto his YouTube channel, Zenrabbit with 2 N's, 2 B's in rabbit. And this is how you type it into YouTube if you want to get there. So it's www.youtube.com/Zenrabbit. And then if you want to, you can, instead of Zenrabbit 01, yes?
Just one. Zenrabbit 1, but Zenrabbit's got only 1 N in that one.
Oh, that is 1 N in that one.
Zenrabbit 1.
There we are, 1 N in Zenrabbit if you have the 1 on the end. Oh, don't do that. It's gone to eBay. I pressed the eBay button. That's a stupid thing, so let's try it again. My eBay button.
The reason I've got 2 sites is because I was unable to upload it to the original site. It wouldn't allow me to do long videos, but I killed it on the new site.
And this is the talk channel, so Zenrabbit 1. So there we go. So that's basically how you can get hold of these videos, and it's about an hour long. Is it the lecture? I think.
Well, it's 2 hours altogether. There's two parts, 1 hour each.
Right, 54 minutes in one, and probably about the same in the other. Then, so excellent stuff. So we've got something for people to look at, which I'm sure they'll find interesting. So they'll be able to work out where exactly you're coming from by listening to your lecture and seeing a lot more slides and stuff than they've seen tonight. So I'd like to take the chance to thank Mr. Buckle for coming and on the channel, and hopefully we'll speak to him again in the future. So if anybody wants to contact him, do get in touch through the YouTube channel, and you can have a chat with him there or leave some comments on his videos. And don't forget to subscribe to them and also to give them a thumbs up if you like them, because that always helps. So there we are. Okay. So thanks again, Rob, for coming on, and we shall speak to you again another time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great.
No problem. So that's about it really for this show, and we may be able to have the end credits come up. It would be nice, wouldn't it, to get the end credits to come up on the show, but it's been so hectic with this bloody software. I don't know if it's actually going to work. But yes, if we can get a guest for next week, we might do a show next week. Otherwise, it may be in 2 weeks' time. But I will advertise that fact on the Facebook and on the emails that we send out, and we'll also put it on the live stream channel. So this will be streamable on live stream for a short while, and then it will go to live on the YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com, and then it's / and then it's Truthseekers666. That is my my site on YouTube. So this software is not easy to use. I've got to hunt down the end credits now. So here we go. Let's see if this will work then. This is the end credits. Here come the end credits. No, no end credits. Oh, no music on the end credits anyway. Let's see if we can get that working. No, don't want to know. Brilliant. You can have the end credits, but you can't have the music. So, oh, let's just see if we do that again then. Press play, and this time you can have the end credits. So, thanks for tuning in. This is where the music goes. And then somewhere down at the bottom it says something about fucking traitor bitch rot in hell. And then it goes so thanks for tuning in, and hopefully see you next week or in a fortnight's time. And thanks for all the people in channel for being great with your questions tonight, except for Mad Hatter, who we will send a dictionary of English language to free of charge very soon. Good night.